Khan kept the letter in his pockets and left the house. His destination was a secret and desolate location outside of the city as mentioned in the letter. Just an hour ago, he read the letter and had many thoughts about the message written inside the letter. The main context was something he hadn't expected to receive from the sender. The most important part of it was these simple words. "Come quickly. We don't have much time left." Khan understood that these were not the type of words the people who sent him the letter would casually use if it wasn't of utmost importance. 20 kilometers away, in a wide-open mountainous area, was a small bungalow. People usually did not dare to come to this area given the identity of the owner, and nobody wanted to disturb this person when he came here to relax and enjoy the beauty of nature. This area was not visited even by travelers. The wide grounds here could even hold a battle of at least 1,000 people. Khan, with his newly increased stats, physical skills and abilities that he recently gained, was now 2 times faster and powerful than before he started the whole war against noble clan heirs. If the current him were to do it, he won't have to spend so much time. He'd probably hunt all the clan heirs in a matter of days, and that too very effortlessly. An hour later, he finally reached the location and met the person who sent him the letter. Along with this person was a middle-aged elf. To Khan, both these people were familiar figures. They were Arkham va Solomon. "What is it? Why did you call me? What's so urgent and important?" he asked the president va vice president duo of Adventurer Association with a curious expression. Arkham, who was standing in the front and was currently clad in a blue and rare rank armor along with an epic rank claymore sword, looked at Khan solemnly. His expression appeared as if he felt wronged by Khan. The middle-aged elf, Solomon, finally spoke to him. "So the rumors were true, although you haven't broken through to the semi-saint rank. You did manage to reach the level of a peak Grandmaster Swordsman," spoke the elven mage. "Eh? What are you talking about?" asked Khan. Although he had indeed broken through the peak Grandmaster rank. That wasn't public information to anyone. Not even Albestros knew it yet. So the main question was, how did these 2 people know about it? What rumors were they talking about? We will talk about it later. But first, boom! A shrill sound of an oppressive aura quickly filled the surroundings, and Khan's survival instinct alarmed in his head like a siren. A dark red barrier was released over this green open ground, full of a variety of trees and flowers. A radius of 2 kilometers was covered inside this red barrier, and Khan's countenance froze. The very next second, he suddenly felt like he lost the control of his body. This immense pressure even put him on the ground as his entire body lost the strength to even stand up, and he slumped down on the spot. "What's the meaning of this?" asked Khan in an enraged tone. This sudden surprise had caught him off guard. Although Khan liked staying vigilant, these 2 men were not exactly his enemies and had helped him greatly when he come to Flavit City. In the name of the assassination contract, he had gained a lot of resources, money, subordinates while hunting, and most importantly, increased his weapon mastery to reach a level where he was able to break through the Grandmaster rank. In a way, these 2 men were his biggest benefactors so far, so he naturally felt no sense of threat or hostility from both of them. "Arkham will explain it to you," spoke Solomon and walked behind the magic swordsman. "System warning. The host has been put under a suppression and expulsion magic formation. All of the host's physical and magical attributes have been reduced by 70%. Unable to keep the subordinate in the host's shadow, the loud alert from the system rang in his head, and the next moment, a broad and long black shadow appeared out of Khan and left the barrier. Thud! Boom! Crackle! A gigantic figure of a basilisk was expelled out of the barrier. The nearby trees and boulders were destroyed as soon as the ginormous body of this majestic beast came to be. Gasp! Both Arkham va Solomon gasped in surprise after they saw Rudra's terrifying figure leaving Khan's body. "That, if I'm not wrong, that's a basilisk," shouted Solomon in surprise. "Rudra, we're under attack. Wake up!" Khan called out the basilisk. But no response came from the subordinate. As if it was inside a long dew sleep, Khan instantly remembered what the variant basilisk told him 10 days ago, that he'd be in a long sleep. He can't and won't be able to wake up after eating the body and core of the Magma Drake dungeon boss. Khan understood that unlike him, Rudra didn't have some divine ability to help him absorb bodies, cores, and even the bloodlines. He had to absorb them slowly, especially when it was someone with the draconian bloodline. And because of that, Rudra was put under comatose for an entire month. "So that's how you did it," spoke Solomon with an excited face. "You must be a freak of nature to have contracted a god-beast as your familiar." He spoke again. "War dominance. Hey! What the hell is this? Why are you suddenly attacking me?" spoke Khan after he released his murderous and chaotic aura with full capacity. After he reached the peak Grandmaster rank, war dominance had risen by one stage and his aura was now 3 times stronger and denser. And the bloodlust he was emitting had also gone through a qualitative change. But under this restriction barrier, he barely gathered the strength to properly stand up. This time it was Arkham to move forward and spoke to Khan. "We have a score to settle, Khan," spoke Arkham and released his murderous dense blue aura at Khan as if he was looking at a mortal enemy. His eyes were full of wrath and unimaginable bloodlust. He then pulled something out of his space ring and threw it towards Khan. An round object rolled towards Khan, who was standing 10 meters away. The round object was a head. The head belonged to someone Khan knew very well. This person had helped him a lot, albeit for a fee till now. "The Snakekin. Or should I call with your other name?" spoke Arkham and gave Khan a deathly glare. "Azrael." Khan was surprised to see both of the old men knowing his other identity as Azrael. But when he looked at the severed head of the Snakekin, he understood how they found out. Because so far only Albestros and the Snakekin knew about his other identity as the Angel of Death. One of them kept this as a secret because Khan was going to avenge his children, while the other kept his mouth shut because Khan was a wealthy customer who paid 2 to 3 times more for simple jobs such as intel gathering or spreading rumors. "So you know that I'm Azrael. But why does it affect you? I don't remember killing anyone who was remotely related to you," asked Khan. What enmity did the 2 men in front of him have to suddenly ambush him like this? The old peak Grandmaster rank magic swordsman walked forwards, and a dense burst of dark blue aura was released from his body as his vengeful eyes landed on Khan. He was currently clad in blue armor and had a claymore sword in his hand. Arkham's countenance was of someone who had been greatly wronged. He unsheathed the sword and pointed the end at the young man standing in front of him. The sword's appearance matched a lot to Jon Snow's longclaw sword. Arkham's red eyes that were fumed with anger stared at Khan. "Because you killed my son," declared Arkham. "WH. What?" asked Khan with a baffled expression on his face. "Who's your son?" "I haven't killed anyone who wasn't an enemy or part of their forces," he replied. "Erwin Malfoy was my only son," revealed Arkham. "Gasp!" Khan gasped and his eyes were full of surprise. "Because Erwin Malfoy was the first noble clan heir he killed." "What? How's that possible? Isn't he the clan heir and the son of the Malfoy clan head?" asked Khan. He too put a hand on his sword, Lucifer. 30 years ago, when I worked for the Malfoy clan as the clan head's bodyguard, I had an affair with his wife. We eloped one night when I was on a duty to escort her to a place," said Arkham. The blade of his sword shone with a blue hue. "A year later, when Erwin was about to be born, we were even ready to run away and start a new life somewhere else. But thankfully, he had his mother's hair color. And I don't know how she did it, but the clan leader never found out that the child wasn't his own," spoke Arkham again as he explained. "I gave up on being his father in name, because the life he would have was far better than anything I could ever give him. I left the post and started working as an adventurer. All I ever wanted for him was to let him have a life without worries. And you killed that very son of mine and hung his body in the middle of the city for everyone to watch." Boom! A dense and murderous aura was burst out of the old man, and a blue water elemental aura started coalescing on his sword. Khan on the other end brandished Lucifer and activated the bloodline effect. And the sword had all the red-veined patterns glowing as a blistering heat was released from it. He activated all of his attack buff and defensive skills as he took a defensive stance. "How the hell was I supposed to know that?" And you want to avenge that rap***** bastard son of yours? He asked, getting ready to face the old man. Good or evil, it doesn't matter. Blood is blood, declared Arkham. Currently, Khan only had 1/3 of his stats, skills, and magical abilities. Their effectiveness was greatly subdued under this restriction barrier. His strength, speed, and senses were also greatly reduced. If not for him breaking through the peak Grandmaster rank, he wouldn't even be able to stand properly under this magical formation. He regretted being careless and not expecting the old men ambushing him out of the blue, because he never had any reason to suspect these old men, as their relationship was somewhat friendly. Arkham swung his sword towards Khan and 3 water blades were launched at him. Side hopper. Khan used the quick sidestep skill and barely managed to evade the water blades. Boom! The small boulder and the medium-sized tree behind him were crushed and cut through these water blades. Khan, who knew enough about science, quickly understood the destructive force behind these water blades, because these were high-pressure compressed water blades, just like the water jets that could even cut through the metals like aluminum. And given Arkham's strength and rank, these were more than enough to cut a man in half just with a single attack. Damn! Why can't I get a break for once? Thought Khan. Swoosh! Arkham launched another set of attacks and Khan tried to dodge them to the best of his abilities. System, how much strength can I use with all my attacks increase and buff skills? Asked Khan to the systems. First, he had to know his own fighting prowess before he even engaged in a frontal clash against Arkham. There was no hope for reconciliation either, because the old man was now adamant about killing him. And on top of that, there was also Solomon, who was only just watching from a long distance as if he was enjoying the show. The host can only use 62% of his original strength and efficiency of physical and magical abilities vs skills. Replied the system. Damn it! I'll barely be able to hold him off. And he hasn't even gotten serious yet or used his other skills. Spoke Khan and ran in another direction. The only thing that was helping him evade the attacks from the old man's sword at this point was his survival instinct blessing. Or else he'd be a fish on a chopping board. Another one of Arkham's water blades came in his direction. This time he decided to reply with his own attack. Dark Blade. Khan swung Lucifer and launched the sword blade attack made up of dark magic and darkness element. Boom! The clash between these two elemental aura blades shook the surroundings and a huge crevice was formed on the ground just with the aftermath of their collision. Solomon, on the other end of this fight, widened his eyes in surprise. He hurriedly asked in a loud tone, Impossible! How do you know the forbidden dark magic? Khan stood while maintaining a distance of 15 meters from the swordsman. His eyes were also vigilant of the elf in case he tried to sneak attack him. You think I'm going to tell you? He spoke sarcastically. Krang. Arkham wasn't surprised or fazed by this sudden revelation. His eyes and mind completely focused on Khan. Unlike the elven mage, Arkham had gone through hundreds of battles and always expected the enemy to have a few trump cards in their sleeves. Tap, tap, tap. Arkham ran swiftly and in just 4 seconds, he appeared in front of the defender. Screech. Their swords faced each other and multiple sparks came out of them. The sound of 2 hard and sharp screeching metallic swords clashing against each other filled the area. Khan, who was already very weak compared to Arkham at this point, was thrown back 8 meters away. He landed on his feet and quickly activated Darkness Barrier. A dark and dense defensive barrier was cast around him, and just in a second, he was completely covered and protected by this barrier for 10 meters radius. What's this? How is he using a mage's spell? Shouted Arkham and looked towards Solomon. Impossible. He isn't even using an artifact. Spoke Solomon and looked at Khan as if he had seen an anomaly of the nature. Doesn't matter. He's still gonna die. Spoke Arkham and attacked the darkness barrier. Dang! A loud noise of 2 powerful things colliding resounded in the area. Surprisingly, Khan's darkness barrier, which was made of 3 times his defense stats, withstood the water aura blades that came from Arkham's sword. For a moment, Khan finally felt some relief. Now he could at least protect himself for a while. He was certain that both the men already made preparations in case he tried to run. So he wasn't a fool to think that he could just easily escape from the clutches of these old-timers, one of whom was also the second most strongest person in the entire city. But before he could even revel for few seconds, a bright white light beam pierced through the darkness barrier, and it was instantly shattered. Khan looked in this direction where the attack came from. It was Solomon who attacked with a light elemental mage spell. Damn it! I forgot dark magic is only weak against light and holy magic. With my current strength, it can't be any more useless in front of that elven bastard. He cursed in his mind. With this elven mage's interference, his only advantage was gone. He couldn't even use Berserk God mode this early because both these men were seasoned fighters. He won't be able to take them out just with a sudden buff in strength. He had to be very careful. For the next 5 minutes, Khan kept running away and throwing Darkblade skills from time to time and maintained a distance. To Arkham, it was like chasing after a mouse. And because his mana was limited, Khan couldn't even use the domain artifact to separate the man in a different battleground. "Stopping running away like a coward," shouted Arkham. "Why don't you terminate this suppression formation and fight me then?" ranted Khan. "I guess I have no choice," said Arkham, and all of his aura started forming a big cloud above his head. "Let me tell you a difference between a normal swordsman and a magic swordsman, kid. A normal sword user, even at peak Grandmaster rank, can only use aura blades and physical attacks. But a magic swordsman can also infuse his mana and an element they have the highest affinity with. This combined attack is far more powerful than anything you can do," spoke Arkham, and the blue cloud turned into water and 10 water blades identical to his previous attacks formed in the air. Arkham then held his great sword in both of his hands and lifted it towards the sky. "Shit! My darkness barrier can barely stand one blade. There are 10 now," thought Khan. Arkham swung his sword downwards and launched all the high-pressure compressed water blades at Khan. The young man quickly activated the darkness barrier again. Boom! Boom! Thud! Clang! Screech! Multiple sounds of a barrier and sword attacks clashing echoed in the surrounding before the noise finally stopped. A white fog appeared after the collision and filled the entire battlefield. The land where Khan was standing was obliterated into nothingness, and dozens of long crevices had shattered the ground. Finally, when the fog started dispersing from the surrounding, a brightly burning red figure was revealed. Roar! A roar of a primordial beast filled the region where the fight was going. The blistering red flames that came out of this figure burst loudly, and a man clad in black-red armor and a helmet with 2 burning horns that appeared like a descendant of dragons came to be. The intense and terrifying heat coming from this figure had partially negated the damage received from the water aura blades that was a combination of 3 destructive forces. Dracos armor. Khan had called out and equipped the Dracos armor as soon as the darkness barrier broke and activated the bloodline effect at maximum capacity. "What the? Is he a monster?" asked Arkham in surprise. Both the old men were taken aback by his new appearance that came to be from nowhere. Khan's new appearance looked like a demonic beast. His armor being on fire at various places gave him a horrifying look. The next second, 12 pitch-black swords appeared above his body. All of them were identical to Lucifer in size and appearance. Every single one of these swords was made up of darkness element, and a black aura was released from them as they floated in the air above him. It was Khan using his Sword King skill for the first time. A ghastly and terrifying voice came from the Khan dressed in his beastly Dracos armor, making it sound more like a dragon speaking in a human voice. The words echoed in the entire battlefield and filled the surrounding with a chaotic and dangerous aura. "Now then, allow me to show you who's a better swordsman." Khan in his Dracos armor now stood in front of the 2 men who planned to kill him in this desolate and forested valley. No one would even know how he died or where his body was buried. "System, how much of my strength I can use now?" He asked the system because it was the best way to calculate his battle prowess. 78% at maximum," replied the system in its usual lifeless and robotic voice. That's Dormammu Volstov's skill," shouted Arkham in disbelief. Being a magic swordsman himself, he knew of the clan head of the Volstov clan, one of the strongest powerhouses in the city, and of course about his sword lord skill. If Arkham had broken through the semi-saint rank, his own skill set would be comparable to the 72-year-old demonkin. So he did kill that demon bastard. I don't know how he acquired his skill. But you're lucky that I'm with you, spoke Solomon with a solemn expression. Don't interfere. He's my kill. I have to avenge my son with my own hands, said Arkham and released his terrifying aura again as he dashed towards Khan. Show me how good of a swordsman you are, kid, he said and swung his sword at the young man dressed in draconian armor. Clang! Both swords collided along with Khan's darkness swords and Arkham's water elemental aura swords as their master clashed against each other in a head-on confrontation. Spark flew in the air as both the fighters swung their swords at each other from right to left, from upwards and downwards. Small shockwaves filled the place as they kept making quick and lethal, their movements so fast that normal onlookers would only register flashes and afterimages of their attacks. Despite being disadvantageous in terms of stats, Khan faced the old man without fear in his eyes, his mind completely focused and his senses on full alert. His gaze full of bloodlust even gave the experienced fighter such as Arkham a sense of wariness. Boom! Swords after swords attacked each other from different directions. Both sides completely equal in strength. If Khan wasn't under this suppression formation, he would definitely have an upper hand over the old magic swordsman in terms of physical strength. Khan quickly used Sidehopper and appeared 10 meters behind. A water aura blade just passed by his previous location and was aimed at his head. Although he had a few skills he could use to outmatch the old man, but with Solomon being present here would make things complicated because he knew light elemental spells and could easily destroy his dark element attacks. If anything had Khan learned recently was that you never reveals your trump cards too early, or they'll lose their advantages and usefulness. He quickly disappeared from the spot and appeared 50 meters away from his original location. He held Lucifer with both of his hands and moved it behind his back. Shrill. Crackle. A darkness aura and lightning appeared over the sword blade, and both these different yet two of the most destructive elements started fusing. Arkham sensed a foreboding of a dangerous attack if he allowed Khan to attack with this skill. He dashed at the enemy who was charging his attack skill. As soon as he came in 20 meters proximity in only 3 seconds, Khan quickly slashed his sword towards the incoming enemy. Dark lightning strike. Boom! An ear-deafening explosion happened in the middle of this mountainous battlefield, and a dark and bright aura destroyed 100 meters of solid ground and obliterated it into nothingness. Dozens of trees and giant boulders were shredded into small pieces and half of the battleground was put on a fire. This attack was enough to kill even someone like Arkham without leaving a single trace of his body. 10 seconds later, when the smoke and fire finally subsided, Khan saw a figure of a half-burned man whose armor was tattered into pieces and his face and torso were bleeding profusely. But in front of this man was a white barrier that appeared at the last second and saved the man's life. Damn! Cursed Khan as he looked at the source of this defensive barrier. It was Solomon, who was only watching from afar for some time. He then joined the fray with Arkham himself, and started launching elemental attack spells at Khan. With his increased attacking capacity and the increased speed and defense because of the Dracos armor Va Lucifer both being used at the same time, Khan kept dodging and defending against the attacks. It was one thing if he fought against Arkham alone, but with the semi-saint rank magician in the fray, Khan barely stood any chance to attack them. How do I get rid of this suppression formation? He thought, because it'd be his only way to get out of his current predicament and regain all of his strength. But the next moment a plan hatched in his mind. Let's do it the John Wick style, he planned. For the next few attacks, he let Solomon and Arkham's attacks and spells deliberately hit him. And being the natural enemy of fire, Arkham's water blade attacks started breaking Khan's Dracos armor. With each hit of the high-pressured water blades, his armor started chipping little by little and his body was pushed back time to time, as if he no longer had enough strength to defend or dodge the onslaught from the duo. Khan dropped on his feet and started panting due to exhaustion, and seeing the opportunity, Arkham used the same water blade sword skill like before and attacked with 10 water blades. Boom! A sonic boom filled the area and Khan was thrown against a giant tree trunk. Arg! wailed Khan as his Dracos armor did its best to defend its owner before it was broken into pieces and Khan's body dropped on the ground, barely having the strength to stand up. He was holding his sword as his entire upper body was bleeding profusely with multiple long and wide gashed leaking streams of blood. Cough! Cough! He threw up a mouthful of blood on the ground. Arkham walked in front of him with a look of someone who was finally going to finish an oath they had taken. He grabbed Khan by the throat and gave him a look of disgust. "Now my son can rest in peace," he said and quickly tried to stab Khan in the gut. Clang! Khan's left side of the abdomen, which was just about to be stabbed, was now fully covered with black hexagonal scales and he, on the other hand, threw the sword in the air. Khan quickly activated Drake Claws and grabbed the sword and Arkham's arm with both hands. He had sacrificed his newly made Dracos armor, so he wanted it to be worth it. Before the peak Grandmaster Magic Swordsman could even react, Khan's eyes flickered yellow. Executioner's gaze. Arkham was paralyzed on the spot. "Then you can go and join him in hell," declared Khan as a black extension came from his back and quickly grabbed Lucifer that was still swinging in the air. Thack! Arkham's head was pierced right in the center by the black and crimson sword. Khan quickly grabbed it and used all of his strength. Slash! Rip! Khan cut Arkham's body upside down in half. An open skull, cut down bones and torn intestines along with the spray of blood gushing out the old man's body was now spread on the ground. Khan gazed at the two identical pieces of meat and blood dropped on the ground and spoke with a content voice. Perfectly balanced. As all things should be. And just like that, a peak Grandmaster Swordsman, one of the top 10 fighters of the Flavit City, died in the act of trying to exact vengeance. There was once a time when Arkham had helped Khan with improving his weapon mastery when he gave his test inside Adventurer Association. The man had also offered him the assassination contract, eventually leading to him getting enough resources and money to raise his levels and strength. With the assassination contract alone, Khan gained many skills and even created his 6 generals. In a way, Arkham played a vital part in Khan's making into the man he is now. But at this moment, the same was killed by his own hands and cut in half. Khan's gaze then changed to Solomon, the president of Adventurer Association and the old-time friend of the Magic Swordsman. Khan quickly covered his entire body in Somir scales and took a defensive stance against the Elven Mage. But unlike how he expected the Elven Mage to attack him, get enraged to the core and go in a frenzy to kill him, the elf looked at the scene from far distance and didn't have a slight emotion of rage or surprise. Solomon looked at the scene with lifeless eyes as if what happened just now didn't affect him in the slightest. You could have saved him in the last moment just like before. But why didn't you? Asked Khan as he activated his 12 darkness swords again. Don't fret. It's nothing like what you think. He was a good companion but outlived his usefulness, replied Solomon. What do you mean? Asked Khan in a puzzled tone. He always thought of this duo as partners in crime. But the Elven Mage just said that Arkham outlived his usefulness. Don't you get it? It's you who have helped me clear an obstacle in my path, he replied with a stern tone. What the hell are you talking about? Shouted Khan. His senses were already on full alert and he was skeptical of where the direction of this conversation was going. He wasn't a fool to leave his guard open at this moment and let the Elven Mage attack him from someplace else. But in response, the president of the Adventurer Association only threw a light smirk back at him and replied, It's because I was going to kill him later anyway, spoke the regal-looking elf donned in high-quality mage attire. You what? I don't understand, asked Khan in a completely bewildered tone. Arkham tried to kill you because he wanted to avenge his son. He asked me to come as a backup in case you really had broken through to semi-saint rank as per the rumors. But I had my own reasons to accept the invitation, spoke the Elven Mage. And what's that? Asked Khan. The next second, Solomon summoned a torn-down page that appeared to be part of some logbook. You see, I had my suspicions, but after looking at that basilisk, I'm very certain that you have it, he spoke. What's that list about? Asked Khan as he could see hundreds of names written on both sides of the page. It's the list of people who entered the Bromner dungeon the very day when it was cleared, explained Solomon. Amongst all the people who bought the dungeon passes, only you had the strength and means to do it. I was already suspicious about your high leap in strength and how your familiars were growing strong with each passing day. But when I saw your name in the list, I was certain that it was you who cleared the dungeon and killed that damn lizard who was guarding the final floor. Smiled Solomon as he patiently elaborated how he found about Khan being the person who cleared the Bromner dungeon. A fire arose from his hand and burned the page to crisps. The elven mage pointed his forefinger at the young man. If you want to stay alive, give it to me, he ordered Solomon. Give you what? Asked Khan. Don't play fool in front of me. Give me the dungeon core. Or should I call it, the Emperor's core? Declared the elf. Flabbergasted, Khan couldn't believe how the elf already knew about Emperor Rathnar, the founder of Rocco's empire, who was a peak saint rank swordsman, and his core being hidden inside the Bromner dungeon. You! How do you know about it? The first sage said that nobody knew about its location. He spoke. Since you've helped me finally get it, I'll let you know about the truth, said the mage as he folded his hand behind the back. I, Solomon Elfenheim, belong to the Elven clan that was one of the founding clans of this empire. In our ancient archives lied some records about the first sage taking away the first emperor's core after his death and hiding it somewhere close to the Abyss Forest. Explained Solomon. But nobody in my clan believes it anymore. I was once the chosen heir of my clan, until one day, my younger brother surpassed me and defeated me in a duel for the position of the clan heir. I was thoroughly humiliated by that wench. After spending years to improve my magical skills and finding ways to increase my power, I came across those ancient records and decided to find the core, because it's not just a core, but an unimaginable source of mana and world energy. If in right hands, it can even destroy the entire capital in a single night, spoke Solomon. And during my journey, I came across these newly formed dungeons 70 years ago. I was but a beginner grandmaster rank mage then. But with all the artifacts and resources I had, I did manage to clear the dungeon floor. I even killed that undead lich, until the last floor, spoke Solomon, and his face turned somber. That was an enemy which was far stronger than me in every aspect. I couldn't even scratch that drake, but I did manage to see the core. And at that moment, I knew that the ancient records were correct. And it was indeed the Emperor's core acting as the dungeon core in the first place. I barely managed to leave that place alive using an epic rank space teleportation artifact. And since then, I've lived in this shithole of a city to break through the saint rank and kill that drake with my own hands. I even became the president of that wretched adventurer association filled with nothing but barbarians and mentally disabled insects 20 years ago, just to mandate and keep an eye on the core, said Solomon, and completely released his dense and terrifying purple aura. It was far denser and heavier than Arkham's aura. Now you have two choices. Give the core to me and I'll let you leave alive. Or I rip your heart out and take it myself, threatened the elven mage. If it was the other time of the day, Khan would have thought about this offer, although he wasn't a fool to think that the mage would let him live anyway. But as the sunset had finally gone, he replied to the elven mage with two simple words. Go away, said Khan as the system gave him a notification. Hero of Darkness title activated. Khan's response even surprised the middle-aged elf, as he did not expect the young man in front of him to be so daring to refuse the final offer. So you've chosen death, spoke Solomon loudly as he released his mighty aura of semi-saint rank fighter. He was the second most strongest person in the entire Flavit city, yet the man did not even flinch before insulting him. Khan, who was standing 50 meters away, wasn't even fazed by the immensely terrifying aura. Just as soon as the sun disappeared and the night finally fell, Khan regained his strength and was now 1.5 times stronger and powerful. If he were to fight Arkham in his current state, the peak Grandmaster rank swordsman wouldn't even stand a chance against him. Although this restriction formation had suppressed him greatly and his stats were reduced by 70%, the Hero of Darkness title gave him a 300% increase in strength and 200% in magic spells Vamana. With many of his passive attack buff skills, he managed to get 1.5 times stronger. This was enough for him to at least fight against the elven mage on even grounds. Don't act like you were going to spare me if I gave you the core. Why would you spare me if you wouldn't even spare Arkham? Spoke Khan as he readied himself to fight against the enemy and released war dominance at full power. Boom! A chaotic and deathly black and red aura released from his body, and the sonic booms filled the surrounding battlefield. Khan unequipped the Dracos armor, and only his torn-up black longcoat that was shredded at this point dropped in the ground. You! How did you recover your strength? My formation is still active. Asked Solomon in a puzzled tone. You're awfully talkative. Is it because you think you can easily kill me? Asked back Khan. Dark Blade. He launched his 50 meters range attacks and used the 12 darkness swords suspending in the air to attack the elf from various fronts. Snap! The elven mage only snapped his fingers and a bright white barrier came in between him and these swords. But this time, Khan's darkness swords weren't reflected, but actually pierced through the barrier. Clang! 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 One by one, his swords started piercing through the barrier and Khan jumped up in the air. Solomon, who saw him somersaulting in the air, cast a fire spell and shot it at the incoming assailant. Bang! Before the fire spell could even hit Khan, his darkness barrier covered him and completely negated the damage received from this spell. Khan slashed his black sword with crimson flames on it against the white barrier. Crack! The barrier instantly shattered into two and disappeared. Swoosh! Khan quickly used Side Hopper and instantly appeared in front of the mage and swung his sword at the elf. Bang! A yellow barrier suddenly came into existence and exploded as Khan's sword nearly came a meter close to the elf. If you think this is enough to kill me, then let me show the difference between a semi-saint rank mage and just a normal peak grandmaster. Spoke Solomon, and the ground around him shook as a highly condensed mana completely covered the mage. The next second, the figure of this elven mage started levitating and rose up 15 meters in the air. This was the elven mage using his full power, and an unimaginable pressure filled the surroundings. Even Khan felt a sense of danger. So far, Solomon hadn't even used half of his strength and was only toying around with Khan ever since the battle began in the first place. Let me tell you about the difference between you and me. It's like the story of the monkey trying to capture the moon. However close he thinks he is to the moon, it's still just the reflection of the moon in the middle of the lake. No matter how he struggles to capture that moon, he inevitably sinks to the bottom of that lake to no avail. You will never reach me, declared Solomon, and 4 different elemental orbs around him came into existence. Fire, water, light, and wind elements coalesced in the air, and the size of these orbs started becoming bigger. The mana that came from Solomon's body started compressing these orbs, and the pressure that came from them gave Khan a sense of dread and danger. His body flickered and appeared 50 meters away. Shrill, crackle, chitter, howl. The intense elemental aura from these giant orbs was so terrifying that even Khan, who was currently covered in his Somir scales, felt like he won't survive if these elemental orbs hit him. The simple difference between you and me is the difference between skills, declared Solomon as if he was a deity looking down on a normal and weak mortal. Boom! Boom! Solomon started directing his hands towards Khan's position, and one by one, these giant orbs that were growing in size started throwing multiple small orbs of these elemental energies and destroyed the ground, trees, and boulders. Each of these small orbs blew up 10 meters of space wherever they landed. The fire spells burned everything they touched. The water spells changed their shapes into spears and blades as if they had a free will of their own. The wind attacks cut everything in the surroundings, and the light elemental beams simply obliterated everything that came in their way. Damn! 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 Cursed Khan as he ran away from one direction to another like a deer who was being chased by multiple cheetahs. His footsteps didn't stop for a second before his figure flickered from place to place. And wherever he passed from would be bombarded by these spells and get destroyed in the process. But he came to a realization very quickly how Solomon was in a completely different league than himself. Because the elven mage had the advantage in the attack range, he had various magical and elemental spells. And there was also the plethora of barriers and artifacts the mage had on his hands that protected his life. And on top of it all, Solomon had the high ground. Even if Khan leaped into the air and aimed to kill the flying mage, he'd also expose himself to a mid-air attack. Khan used Shadow Walk and appeared from the 11 mages' sight and sprinted towards the edge of the formation. Only then he'd be able to stand a fighting chance against this guy. In just a few seconds, Khan had run half a mile away with his full speed as he aimed to get out the restriction formation. Because he had indeed underestimated the elven mage, thinking that with the boost in his stats, he'd be able to fight the semi-saint rank opponent as an equal. But the reality brought him out of his delusions very quickly. Since Solomon was alone and lacked speed like Khan, he won't be able to cover all fronts and the defender had a chance to escape. But just as he was about 100 meters close to the exterior of this barrier and charged his dark lightning strike to hit the dome, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him in the air and looked down at Khan with a mocking expression. Solomon, who was a kilometer behind Khan, suddenly appeared in the air above him. Khan, who read enough information about teleportation scrolls and space magic during his little break for a week after killing the dungeon boss, found it odd because the elven mage was neither using a scroll nor an artifact. "Oh, if you think you can run away from me, let me tell you a little secret," spoke Solomon as he grinned at Khan. "I have spent more than a century studying and becoming good at using one of the rarest laws of reality in this world, the space law," declared the elf and gave a smug expression at the Khan was finally thought he could escape out of this formation. The next moment, before Khan could even comprehend the meaning behind the middle-aged elf's revelation, Solomon appeared 25 meters in front of him and threw all the elemental spells at Khan. The spells were so fast that he didn't even get time to react or dodge. Boom! The ground shattered as Khan's body was struck by these destructive and ear-deafening spells. His entire body was thrown 200 meters away and collided against the trees and boulders in the way. Thud! Bang! Crack! Trees after trees and boulders after boulders broke as his body struck and collided against them. Khan ricocheted from time to time and finally cracked open the ground he landed on. Arg! Cough! Cough! Khan coughed up a mouthful of blood and his body was riddled with wounds. His Somir scales barely managed to protect him against the onslaught, and he used Lucifer to protect his face and head at the last moment. One by one, all the scales dropped on the ground as he got up. His scarred and bleeding torso was revealed, and the scales barely managed to protect his vital points. Solomon was on par with the Magma Drake dungeon boss already. And with the variety of highly terrifying and destructive elemental attacks, along with the space law he was proficient at, he surpassed Khan in every single aspect, let it be range, attack power, or speed. Khan got up on his feet using the extension as his foundation and looked at the elf, who had a villainous grin on his face. "System, for how long can I use it in my current state?" he asked the system. "Only 9 minutes," replied the system. Khan resolved himself to have a battle to the death in this moment. It was do-or-die situation for him now, or else he'd be buried in the ground. "Do it!" he commanded, and suddenly, a loud screech was released from his body, and suddenly, his entire body underwent a transformation. Before Solomon now stood a monster that he had never seen in his life. At this moment, Khan had finally used the special ability that could grant him the abilities of various species and monsters at the same time. The bloodline merge. Before the elven mage stood a bare-chested figure of a young man who had lean muscle built with an appearance that differed far from his earlier one. Khan's figure now looked drastically different than his normal look, as if he had completely transformed into a being that couldn't be called a human. After using all his available and battle-oriented bloodlines Khan went from looking like a human to a demonic entity. His black hair turned completely white and grew waist-length long. On his head, there were 4 black horns, 2 on the forehead and 2 on the sides. Both his arms turned pitch black and blistering heat was released from them. His claws retained the appearance of the drake claws and both of his eyes glowed yellow. His human ears also became longer and pointy. In the middle of his chest was a bright red glow, as if a source of intense heat lied there. With the bloodline merge skill, Khan had taken a form that included all the offensive and defensive abilities he had. since the dark magic spells and attacks didn't prove useful against this elemental mage who also revealed that he knew of the space law. Khan was forced to use this form. Among the horns, the ones on the forehead belonged to the basilisk, while the two on the sides were drake horns. Both his arms and legs were covered in somir scales, and the claws belonged to the drake claws skill. His eyes had turned bright yellow just like Rudra, and the center of his chest was fiery red just like the magma drake, while his ears turned long and pointy similar to the Demonkin clan head. "System, how much?" he asked. "The host's physical strength has risen by 400% and speed has increased by 200% for the next 9 minutes. Clarified the system. Good. Save the settings. From now we'll call it the Azura mode. Now, let's make the best use of it," spoke Khan and gave a deathly stare to the elven mage who was hovering in the air. "You! What kind of monster are you?" asked Solomon, who was out of his wits. He had never seen anyone or anything like Khan's current form, and the aura Khan emitted was completely different than before. It became more chaotic and terrifying, as if different primordial monsters had merged into a single entity and released their bloodlust on the elven mage. Khan, on the other hand, wasn't in a mood for a chit-chat or monologue. He only had this buff for 9 minutes even after reaching the peak Grandmaster rank and Hero of Darkness title being in effect. So he understood that it indeed came with heavy aftereffects when this bloodline merge skill ended. Flash! Khan's body flickered and appeared right in front of the mage in their air as he swiped his claws at the elf. Both swipes of his claws created heat energy blades and struck Solomon's chest. Bang! Another protective layer from his body came to be and exploded. Khan was flung backward from the repulsive explosion and landed on the ground again. "How many defensive artifacts does this bastard has?" he ranted. He dashed and disappeared from place to place and gave the elf sense of wariness as Khan's figure flickered from one place to another. Even the semi-saint rank mage, whose senses were far keener, was having a hard time registering his speedy movements and mostly only notices the afterimages. Clang! Just then, 2 black swords attacked his back, and the mage quickly created a light element barrier that protected him. But unlike the earlier times, the swords were far stronger and did more damage to the barrier, as if they two-hand received a boost in speed and strength. Khan called out Lucifer and the sword flew right in his hands. A barrage of swords attacked the elf from various directions, and he was forced to retreat from time to time, his countenance turning that of annoyance via irritation. Khan, who was using the Sword Lord skill, directed all 12 of his darkness swords at the mage while he himself charged Lucifer for the Dark Lighting Strike skill. His boost in magical skills effectiveness helped in merging both the elements much faster than before. Solomon, on the other hand, used his elemental spheres to attack and counter the swords. When he finally noticed Khan's murderous aura aiming right at his position, he cast 2 more barriers in between them. Slash! Bang! Khan slashed the sword towards the mage's location, and a loud bang along with the explosion that destroyed multiple yellow and blue barriers filled the surroundings, and the shockwaves from this clash fluttered the tree leaves and flowers in this mountainous valley. Solomon's figure fell on the ground after a long time, but he then disappeared from his place in the next second. Khan's survival instinct alerted him from an attack coming from behind, and he quickly squatted down. A lightning spell that was aimed for his head barely missed it by a microsecond. Solomon's figure was revealed behind Khan. Before the mage made another spell attack, a red burst of energy was released from the demonic body as if an atomic bomb had exploded. "Arg!" wailed Solomon in pain as he was thrown backward for 20 meters just from the outburst of this skill. The nearby ground was decimated and a big cloud of dust formed at the center of the explosion. A third of this battleground was already destroyed and on fire because of Solomon's attacks, and now Khan added more fuel to the fire. Khan just used the defense reserve skill that had been storing all the damage he was receiving from the elven mage's attack since the fight began. Solomon's clothes were completely tattered, and now his face and chest were bleeding because of the living bomb exploding right in his face. Khan's figure was revealed from the dust cloud, and he dashed at the now injured mage. "Don't look down on me, you damn mutt!" shouted Solomon, and tried to launch all his elemental spheres at Khan in one go. One by one, multiple explosions filled the surroundings, and everything that was around these two fighters was being burned, torn, cut, and obliterated just from the clashes of their respective attacks. Explosion after explosion kept destroying the once lush greenery of this forest. Till now, 8 minutes had already passed since both sides attacked and countered each other. And now, only 1 minute remained until his Azura mode would be deactivated. It's about time we ended this, spoke Khan to himself and activated his final trump card. Berserk God Mode. As soon as Khan activated the Berserk God Mode, his physical strength received a huge spike. His muscles and bleeding wounds contracted as his appearances turned more ghastly. A black red aura erupted from his body, extremely heavy and oppressive that even the semi-saint rank elven mage felt like kneeling under this pressure full of bloodlust. Nonsense! How are you increasing your strength? Are you a true demon? Asked Solomon as he summoned for light elemental spears around him. But without wasting any time on a reply, Khan quickly dashed in the direction of the mage. His movements were so fast that even the mage barely saw his afterimage. Bang! Clatter! Boom! Before Solomon could even see where the assailant went, the protection barriers quickly activated and shattered the next moment. Because currently Khan was in his Berserk God mode and had 5 times his original strength. And with the 1.5 times buff in strength because of Hero of Darkness title, along with 4 times increase in strength and 2 times in speed because of his Bloodline Merge skills, he was so strong that he didn't even need Lucifer to attack the Elven Mage. His bare fists were more than enough. Punch! Bang! Crack! Each of his punches put cracks in the defensive barrier and broke them one by one in just a matter of seconds. Solomon's expression turned ghastly, as if he sensed an impending doom coming onto him. Shatter! The 5th barrier broke after Khan's forceful punch, and green defensive barrier was destroyed, revealing the sullen face of the elf. Solomon, who felt fear for the first time since he broke through to semi-saint rank, was rooted on the spot in disbelief as he saw a freak of nature standing 10 meters away from him. Khan's long white hair floated in the air as he stood next to the mage, who declared that Khan would never be able to reach him. The black and red aura along with the protruding horns gave Khan a look of demon lord at this moment. Solomon quickly recovered from his daze and tried to use the space law to disappear from the place. Shrill! Just as he was about to disappear, a pitch-black dome came into existence and the covered 100 meters of space around them. The elven mage froze on the spot, his body unable to move a muscle. Void Realm. Khan cast Void Realm dark magic spell when the elf was about to disappear and run away. To Solomon, who was unable to move now, this came as a big surprise because he hadn't even seen Khan make any gestures or chants before he cast this spell. Khan's image flickered again and he appeared right next to the mage, trying to stab the man in the chest with his claws. Boom! But before he even came a meter close to him, a burst of light aura erupted from Solomon and Khan was launched in the air. Solomon used the light element aura to break past the restrictions of this dark magic spell that were like each other's natural enemies. Even though Berserk God mode gave Khan an insane boost and multiplying his strength by 5 times for a short time, the same thing didn't apply for his magical skills or mana. So Solomon was able to break through the restrictions of this spell with ease. Before Khan's feet landed on the ground, the elven mage made a grabbing gesture and pulled his entire body closer as a white glowing blade made of the light element was formed in his left hand. Stab! Khan's chest was pierced through this blade before he could use his arms to guard himself. The light blade passed right through the middle of his chest and exited out of his back. Arg! Groaned Khan in pain. His eyes and face had a look of disbelief. Even with his immense boost in strength and fighting capacity, he still failed to kill the elven mage. Any last words? Spoke Solomon as he rejoiced in his victory. A crackling sound was made on his right hand, and the elf summoned a lightning spell in his hand. Khan, who was now stabbed in the chest, only smirked in return, and his eyes flashed purple the next second. Solomon suddenly felt a deathly aura coming right in front of him as his sharp senses picked up a murderous intent coming where he was stabbing Khan. Die, you demon! Solomon hit Khan with the lightning spell, and the young man didn't even get a chance to dodge or evade. Blast! Khan's head exploded. His brain and broken pieces of skull splattered on the ground like a squashed watermelon. Ha ha ha! Didn't I say I'll kill yo? Rip! A sound of something getting stabbed and ripped out reached the elven mage's ears, and he finally saw the source of it. A black and red claw that looked like hot magma was running through its veins appeared out of the left side of his chest. And inside the claw was a beating heart. A jarring and ghastly voice landed on Solomon's ears. The words were in an echoing demonic voice. Omi wa mau shindiru. Solomon's entire body shuddered in fear, and he looked behind his back where the source of this voice was standing. Impossible. Before he could even finish, his body slumped on the ground as the elf still had a horrified expression on his face even in his death. The figure holding his heart was Khan. Unlike what the mage thought, he never actually killed Khan. As soon as the mage broke through the Void Realm spell, Khan quickly activated the Doppelganger skill before the bright flash disappeared and used Shadow Strike to appear right behind the elven mage. And the Doppelganger, who had 50% of his physical strength and skills, used Subterfuge skill when its eyes flashed purple. This ability messed someone's perception of vision and direction. After his senses were altered, Solomon felt a murderous intent coming from the front, but in reality, it was coming from behind him. The doppelganger served its purpose before it died, and Khan finally dealt the kill shot and ripped out the elf's heart just when his berserk god mode was about to end. His gaze landed on the now-dead semi-saint rank magician, who was the second most strongest person in the entire Flavit city. He used Azura mode, berserk god mode, void realm, subterfuge, and shadow strike. All of them under a minute to finally kill the insurmountable and nigh-invincible enemy. Khan dropped on the ground as the aftereffects of the bloodline merge and berserk god mode finally kicked in. His appearance started changing, and in just a few seconds he was back to his normal human appearance. Khan started losing his consciousness and was about to faint because the weakening effects were too much for him to handle. Thud! 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 For black figures jumped out of his shadow at this moment, and consecutive thuds filled the battlefield. A 12-meter-tall monster with bright red eyes looked at the fallen figure beside the mage's corpse. A tyrannical voice filled the surroundings, and Khan, who was barely able to keep his eyes open, saw four familiar figures. "Rest now, master. We will protect you." The bright moon shone in the sky above. The once peaceful and tranquil scenery was now a remnant of a destroyed battlefield as small embers and smoke filled this mountainous valley. In this contradictory environment that would hardly look appealing to anyone, a young man was lying on a bed inside a wooden coffin. A wooden cabin. The countenance of this young man was of someone who was completely exhausted and dehydrated. But even in this situation, he was sleeping soundly. Around this wooden cabin were four figures who acted as guardians of an ancient tomb full of riches and treasures. In the front were two giant figures that were more than 12 meters tall. In the back of this cabin was a skeletal being who was hovering few meters above the ground. Inside the cabin itself was a slick and lean-built man standing beside the bed. The four figures were Khan's biggest and few of the strongest subordinates. These were the ones he chose to resurrect by spending all the mana cores and ores he had on him when the Magma Drake dungeon boss killed them in a futile struggle. They were Omega, Blackwell, Cyril, and lastly, Ronan. Just before Khan fainted due to aftereffects of the various power buff skills and two physically draining skills, his four subordinates had completed the resurrection procedure and appeared right before he fainted. Now they were acting as his guards. But unlike before, there was a change in their behavior and the way they conversed with each other. "When will Master wake up? It's morning already," spoke Omega, the Leakin, who was also the strongest amongst all the subordinates currently present here. "Patience. It will take more time than usual. Although Master is much stronger now, he still went overboard with his attacking skills. The aftereffects will take more than usual," responded Ronan, the rogue subordinate, in a calm and collected tone. "Wrong. I can sense my liege's mana recovering at a fast pace. He should be awake in a couple of hours," said Cyril, the necromancer. "But what should we do with those two bodies? Should I make two undead soldiers out of them?" asked the skeletal subordinate again. "Impudence! Who are you to make decisions in Master's stead?" A rustic and domineering replay came from Blackwell, the Guardian Knight subordinate. "Stop it. Master will decide what to do next." and he will need the bodies intact to absorb their abilities. Interjected Omega in his ghastly and horrifying voice. You know, Master hasn't actually said you're in charge when he's not awake, said Ronan. You, little insect, I am the first of us who Master created, and I've hunted and fought beside him the longest, so naturally I am the second in command. If you have any problems, fight me, declared Omega. Humph, don't act like little children and make a scene here, interjected Blackwell, acting aloof and responsible as if he belonged to an upper class of society who pitted the mannerless fools. What did you say, you damn bull? You want to go one round with me? Retorted Omega. Yes, you think you're any better than us, you big meat shield? Retorted Ronan. Ooh. Guys. What? They all looked at the skeletal mage subordinate. Cyril pointed his bony finger in a direction. Why is it so loud in here? A worn-out and tired voice filled the room and a half-naked young man woke up from his sweet sleep. Thud. Just the next second, all four of the subordinates kneeled in front of Khan, who was still lying in bed. So you guys are back. Good, spoke Khan. System, how much time do I have left till the weakened state is gone? He asked the system. The aftereffects of Azura mode and Berserk God mode have greatly affected the host's body. The host will require 17 hours more to change to the normal physical state. Clarified system. I see. Show me the new notifications. He commanded. The subordinates have been resurrected. The loyalty of the subordinates has increased by 50%. The total loyalty has risen by 100%. Congratulations to the host for unlocking impartation skill. The host can now share skills, abilities, bloodlines, and job/class specific traits to the subordinates who have unlocked 100% increase in loyalty. Note: this skill can only work with the subordinates with a 100% loyalty increase. Congratulations to the host for unlocking a secret condition of evolution. Subordinates with 100% loyalty can now be directly merged with a specimen without the need of another subordinate with evolution skill unlocked. Replied the system. Finally, spoke Khan loudly. He always thought that the whole increase in 50% loyalty with the subordinates had a reason behind it because they were already made to be loyal to him. And all the subordinates he named had a 50% increase in loyalty. This was more of a test for him to unlock these skills and special conditions. So one condition was to name the subordinate and the other was to resurrect them if they died to unlock these abilities. System, impart the metamorphosis bloodline to all of them and also share all of my skills and passive abilities based on their respective classes. He ordered. Command completed. The subordinates have unlocked the skills to switch into a human form, the same species as the host. However, their physical stats will be reduced by 20 levels in the humanoid forms. Note: the subordinates must be above level 85 and reach High Lord rank before the skill can be activated. Holy Mother of God! Exclaimed Khan in surprise. This was another godsend gift he received, because now his subordinates could take human forms after meeting the prerequisite conditions. This way, he can travel along with them and won't have to hide them in his shadow all the time. Not only could he use them to fight along his side in a battle out in front of other people, but he could also distribute roles in the team and have a small adventurer group of his own. And since his subordinates will be in a human form, they will prove far useful even in front of a crowd without raising suspicion on his identity. Because he could never use them in front of people unless he wanted to kill the witnesses. But now, even with the 20-level decrease in stats, this was still a better alternative. And they will regain their original strength after revealing their true form anyway. So now he and his horsemen of death could also hunt in the open without having to worry about them scaring the people to death with their monstrous bodies and appearance. Wait, I still need to get them to level 85 and High Lord rank first. Spoke Khan, and a sudden realization hit him as he looked at the corpses of Arkham and Solomon that were kept on the other end of the room. Khan grinned at the subordinates kneeling in front of him and took 4 bodies out of his space ring. Khan had been taking a lot of risks before this sudden ambush by Arkham and Solomon. So it was time he used what he received from the aftermath. Because the greater the risk, the greater the reward. Khan sat up and looked at the corpses of the two people he once had good ties with but later turned against him and tried to take his life. While both of them had their own reasons that he couldn't have foreseen in any possible ways, the fact was clear to him that just because he felt a sense of familiarity with them, he had indeed let his guard down and came up unprepared or without even thinking of the possibility of these people turning on him. By the end, it was very clear to him that it was indeed his own negligence that could have resulted in losing his life. Just because someone had a good relationship with him didn't mean that were harmless or wouldn't look for their interests even if it meant taking his life. He ordered Ronan to bring both the bodies close to him. The blood was still dripping from the corpses of the duo, especially Arkham, who was cleaved in half by Khan. First, he started with Arkham and put his hands on both sides of the cut-down body. His sword was lying beside the old man. Absorb, commanded, and began the ability absorption procedure. After 35 minutes, he was finally done. System, show me the new abilities. He commanded. The host has acquired the following abilities via skills. Sword Savant, S rank, passive. Allows the host to fuse mana and aura together to create swords infused with elemental attacks. Up to 8 swords can be created at the same time. The attack damage, range, and effectiveness of the sword attacks increased by 35%. Aura Assimilation, A rank, passive. Allow the host to infuse mana in long-range attacks with accurate precision and balance. Note: time required time for infusing mana via aura reduced by 40%. Magic Swordman's Will, S rank, active. Allows the host to cover and encapsulate any object with mana via aura as long as the host is holding any long and straight object. Replied the system. Noise. He spoke and commanded the system to show him the merged abilities via skills. Following are the merged skills and abilities. Sword King, SS rank, passive. A combination of Sword Lord and Sword Savant. Allows the host to create a total of 50 swords made from aura, mana via elemental attributes. The host can create different elemental attribute swords at the same time. All swords can move via change directions as per the host's will. Time required to infuse different elements, mana and aura reduced by 50%. Attack damage and combat techniques mastery for all sword attacks raised by 100%. The effective range of all sword attacks is raised by 50%. Sword Battlemaster, SS rank, active. Allows the host to control any sword in 1 kilometer area via the host's invisible aura and mana threads. The activation time is only 30 minutes. The time will increase with the increase in the host's combat technique mastery. Congratulations to the host for breaking through peak Grandmaster rank for sword weapon mastery. Declared the system. This is the way. Exclaimed Khan in joy because Arkham's abilities made a major breakthrough for him, and now he had his first SS rank skills after Sword Lord skill. He got from the clan head of Volstov clan was merged with Arkham's Sword Savant skill. The end result was even higher and many times upgraded version because not only his proficiency increased, his attack damage, range, and the number of swords he could create increased by 3 to 4 times. On top of it, he could give a separate element to each of these swords as he wished, and he could now control any sword in a kilometer from him. Along with the reduction in mana, aura, and different elements, he could even use Dark Lighting Strike attack in half time than before. This would greatly benefit Khan in the long run. This indeed made him a total monster because if he faced 100 enemies in a fight and they had swords as their weapon, he could simply use their swords to kill their owners. Just too terrifying of an ability similar to Magneto from X-Men. Although Arkham hadn't reached the semi-saint rank, the skills he absorbed from the magic swordsman weren't any less useful compared to what he previously got from the clan head. Ronan then plucked out Arkham's glowing golden core from his heart and handed it over to Khan. He cleaned it with a cleansing spell and ate the core in a single gulp. After meditating for 5 minutes and spending a minute to subdue Arkham's remaining will in the core, Khan rose by 5 levels and now reached level 90. Because he was already stronger than Arkham under normal circumstances in terms of stats, and how each level up required more resources and cores, just Arkham's core alone giving a 5 levels boost was a good and acceptable outcome. Phew! Thank you, old bastard. I forgive you for trying to kill me. Even though I killed your one and only son first. Thanked Khan shamelessly. He glanced at the semi-saint rank mage, Solomon. This elf had actually pushed him too far, and if not for his immense boost in strength because of the Azura mode and Berserk God mode, he wouldn't have been able to kill the mage this at all. Even there, he had to let the enemy think that he killed Khan, messed his sense of direction and made the elf drop his guard just for a second. And all of those different skills in the very last minute before he managed to kill this elven mage who also knew about the Emperor's core. Thankfully, no one else knew about the core or half of Rocco's empire would be after him if the news leaked out. Khan could never let anyone know about this empire-toppling secret, although he currently didn't know how to best use this in his favor. It was something worth killing for. And now by right, Khan was actually the next emperor of Rocco's empire, but the decree no longer held any meaning to it. And Khan wasn't stupid to think that anyone would even care about it. Plus, the saint rank people in the empire would wage a war on him if they heard about the truth and the core. Naturally, they would want the core for themselves and raise to the next stages of the saint rank. Unlike him, they'd have the means to utilize the peak saint rank emperor's core. So for now, everything must be kept secret. He couldn't even afford to think about the rise of the emperor plotline as his circumstances and priorities didn't allow him to shift the story in that direction. Back to the present moment, Khan decided to target the elf and his core that was lying inside his squashed heart. A greedy smirk appeared on his face. I wonder how many rewards I'll rake in next. Without wasting any more time, Khan put his hands on Solomon's corpse and started the mage's abilities and skills. Just like Dormammu Volstov, Solomon also took more than 45 minutes till Khan was finally done with ability absorption. System, said Khan. The host has acquired the following abilities via skills. Elemental Fusion, a rank. Passive. Allows the host to create elemental mana orbs and use them as a source for elemental spells and long-range attacks. Light Barrier, A rank. Active. Allows the host to create a defensive barrier made from light element. Elemental Transformation, S rank. Passive. Allows the host to transform the form of the elemental spells. Casting time reduced by 35%. Space Haste, A rank. Active. Allows the host to use space magic to travel to 1 kilometer space in any direction. The host currently has no abilities that could be merged with these newly acquired abilities via skills. Note: the host must eat the core of the specimen quickly. Declared system. This was the third time Khan heard the system haphazardly telling him to eat someone's core. The first 2 times were when he ate the Somer's core, and the second was when he ate the core of the Utherkyrus, the 13th floor boss who gave Khan the Metamorphosis bloodline. Khan cleaned Solomon's core with a cleansing spell after he pulled it out of the elven mage's now squashed heart and gulped it down. Unlike before, not only did he need 12 minutes just to absorb the core, but he also took 3 minutes to completely subdue the remnant will of the semi-saint rank elf. There was something very different about Solomon's core because even the Demonkin clan head's remnant will, who was also a semi-saint rank fighter, did not take this much time via struggle to get subdued and assimilated into his own aura. During his meditative state, Khan heard the level up sound many times and felt a new form of worldly energy he hadn't been able to feel till this point. This wasn't the world energy that could be used to raise his strength like mana cores via ores, but a completely different element of reality itself. He felt as if he could touch and feel this force, but at the same time, he couldn't. What the hell is this? Is this some sort of law of reality? He wondered. Just then, the system's voice rang in his head. Congratulations to the host for teaching level 100. Congratulations to the host for meeting the prerequisite conditions. Before the system could even continue. Boom! Khan's body let out a loud and heavy burst of golden aura and shook the entire wooden cabin. Even someone like Blackwell Va Omega nearly fell on the floor, and Ronan, who was standing closest to Khan, was thrown in the opposite end of the room. The once golden aura that came from him started growing darker with time as a tangible orange-colored aura covered his entire body. Khan, who was under the weakened state, suddenly felt all of his strength returning back in this very moment, as if he was no longer under the weakened state and aftereffects of Azura mode va Berserk God mode. His body feeling even firmer, stronger and nimble. The system then continued its previously interrupted message. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to semi-saint rank, declared the system. I what? Exclaimed Khan with a gobsmacked expression on his face. Not only he reached level 100 after eating Arkham Va Solomon's cores. He already reached the semi-saint rank. If he was right. Now Khan was actually the strongest person in the entire Flavit City. Even Commander Strays, who was also a semi-saint rank fighter, wasn't as strong as Khan because he was only level 88 while Khan was now level 100. The War Deity body has risen to stage 4. Survival Instinct has risen to stage 3. War Dominance has risen to stage 4. Replied system with notifications after notifications. This is too much, shouted Khan, no longer having any patience or calm va collected behavior like his past self. Just in the last 2 hours, he had gone through one big surprise after another. System, tell me the conditions to break through the semi-saint to saint rank. He asked because he could no longer keep his excitement in. The host must reach level 200 and eat the core of a being at the saint rank stage 1. Only then will the host be able to reach the next stage. Clarified the system. Is this a joke? If I want to reach first stage saint rank, I'll need to fight and kill someone at that stage? And they'll be level 200 as well, right? Asked Khan in a puzzled tone. Yes. Replied the system in its robotic and lifeless voice. You gotta be shitting me. If those are the first stage saint rank fighters. Then are you telling me that Arkham Va Solomon were nothing but of small fries? Asked Khan in bewilderment. And if these two were small fries, then the magma drake who almost killed him was also a small fry, albeit stronger than the rest. If it was also level 100, even Rudra wouldn't have been able to kill it. Yes. Replied the system again. So I have been playing with little children all this time? Contemplated Khan. If even someone like Solomon was nothing but a toddler compared to a full-fledged saint rank fighter, then how strong were these saint rank people in reality? If I'm to use myself as an example and given my strength and attacking capacity, a stage 1 saint rank person would be able to destroy this entire valley with just a single strike of their sword. Thought Khan. Because he too can be compared to a powerhouse now. But to hear that just a stage 1 saint rank fighter was 2 times stronger than him. And that too based on his superficial assumption alone. This completely changed his perception of power scaling in this world. But before he could overthink this new information again, a sudden notification rang in his head that completely shook Khan to his core. This news was even more mind-boggling and came out unexpectedly. Congratulations to the host for meeting the prerequisite conditions. Dimensional Law, Divine Ability unlocked. Dimensional Law. One of Khan's divine abilities that he knew was extremely hard to unlock and develop was now finally unlocked after his life and death battle with Solomon and after he ate the Elven Mage's core. The divine ability was finally available for him to use. Yasis! Exclaimed Khan in joy. He finally unlocked one of the most amazing divine ability as per his deduction when he was given a choice by God of Darkness. System. How did the dimensional law get unlocked so suddenly? What were the conditions? Asked Khan. The prerequisite conditions were that the host must absorb the space magic abilities and eat the core of a being who had developed their cores to adapt the space law. The host has met both the conditions because of the individual named Solomon Elfenheim. Clarified the system. Khan looked at the fear-stricken and pale face of the dead elf who died while unable to accept how Khan landed the final blow. Solomon, as he said, spent over 100 years studying the space law. Just him being able to teleport somewhere even without the use of some magic spell or teleportation scroll had made him hard kill. If not for Khan using Void Realm and letting the Elven Mage think that he got him, he would be the one lying dead on the floor. Show me all the details on this divine ability, commanded Khan. Divine ability, dimensional law. The owner of this divine ability has access to all the space va void around them. They can open the void va, enter it without any harm to the physical body. It also allows a part of the body to be placed inside the void at a time while the rest of the body exists in the real world without harming the original body. The distance of travel Va-time user can stay inside the void increases with the increase in mastery of the law. Condition. The owner must be extremely efficient in space magic Va law. The divine ability is only accessible when the owner has met the prerequisite conditions. Informed the system. Yeah, I remember that. But what are the current skills this divine ability is giving me? He questioned. Abilities Va skills under the dimensional law divine ability. Dimension void, SS rank, passive, upgradable. Allows the host to have access to all space. And void in 10-kilometer radius in any direction. The host can travel through this space by opening a void crack. Note, the range and activation time of the void skills will increase with the increase in host's proficiency of space law. Current progress, 1%. Dimension shift, S rank, active, upgradable. Allows the host to temporarily shift a body part to the void without causing any harm to the host's body or affecting the host's abilities. Skills Va fighting prowess. Note, the time Va amount of body parts the host can shift inside the void will increase with the host's mastery over space law. Current mastery, 5%. Dimensional cut, SS rank, active, upgradable. Allows the host to use dimensional law to merge with any physical weapon and attacks to cut thought any object as far as the range of this skill is. Current combat technique mastery, 1%. Current range, 100 meters. Note, the increase in range of the skill will be dependent upon the host's proficiency in this combat technique. Dimensional domain, SS rank, active, upgradable. Allows the host to bring one enemy or an entity inside a 100 meters isolated dimension for 1 minute. In this dimensional domain, the targeted enemy or entity will have 50% of their physical stats and mana capacity reduced. Note, the number of enemies or entities the host can bring inside this domain via the activation time for the skill will increase with the host's proficiency in space law and mastery of the skill. Current mastery, 1%. The host is advised to spend time and mastering these abilities from the dimensional law divine ability. Revealed the system. Khan stopped moving after he heard the response from the system. It was as if he had frozen on the spot and even forgot to breathe. What the hell is this? Aren't I becoming too powerful too quickly? At this rate, I'll be able to kill that demon god by tomorrow morning, exclaimed Khan with a bewildered expression on his face. The number of overpowered abilities and skills he received in just 2 hours after he woke up were too much. And these abilities he got from the dimensional law alone made him an invincible enemy. If he managed to upgrade these abilities and raise his mastery to 100%, he'd definitely be unrivaled without even counting ability absorption and synthesis divine abilities in the equation. Forget others. Even the other heroes of the other gods will have a hard time fighting against him in the future unless their own divine abilities somehow could overcome the dimensional law divine ability. The amount of skills he received just from this divine ability turned him into a guy you definitely don't want to mess with, because he could literally kill any opponent just by standing 100 meters away. And the ultimate traveling skill he got in the form of the void skill was too amazing Va useful. At 100% mastery, he could even travel 10,000 kilometers in using the void. And that's just him using his current levels and ranks. Who knew if the range would even increase farther if he reached the demigod rank? It was as if he was some protagonist of a novel, and the author was shamelessly giving him overpowered abilities one after another that were just too convenient for the plot. And the author must have looked down upon the intelligence of the readers and thought they wouldn't notice. But they did. Because nobody gets these many upgrades in just the first arc. Khan facepalmed himself because there was one more thing he still had to do and would make him even more absurdly powerful. Getting his subordinates to High Lord rank and give them human forms. Man, I just want to be a normal reincarnated person, said Khan helplessly inside. He took out 5 space rings and 2 from Arkham Va Solomon. It was his time to reap all of their resources from decades of hard work and swim in gold coins again. Khan sighed and spoke with exhaustion. Being rich is such a sin. There were a total of 7 space rings in front of Khan, and all their contents and wealth inside there were now his. Let it be the assassins who came from the capital or Bartholomew. They'd have plenty of money on them without a doubt. But then there was the clan head of the Volstov clan, president and vice president of the Adventurer Association. All three of them must have amassed a lot of wealth over the decades and were no different than walking, talking treasure troves. Before we begin, system, show me my stats first. He commanded. Following are the statistics of the host. Name, Khan host. Species, human. Job, all for one. Rank, semi-saint rank. Level 100. Strength, 2,658. Agility, 2,014. Dexterity, 2,149. Defense, 1809. Mana, 2837. Revealed the system. Not bad. But system, why am I not seeing any noticeable change because of war deity body? Because you mentioned that I will get double the physical stats after I reach a new stage? It's already on 4th stage, but my stats are under the expected range. Asked Khan because he too felt like something was amiss. The special effects of the war deity body can only be activated when the host break through the saint rank stage 1. The host's current levels and physical state is unable to withstand the transmutation process. System clarified. I see. So another power upgrade in the future, I guess. It'll certainly give me an edge over the other heroes. Spoke Khan and shifted his gaze to the contents of the space rings one by one. Phew! I'm gonna need to sort them all out and put them in different space rings. Spoke Khan after checking out the contents of all the rings, because of the surprises he had earlier. This one didn't even faze him, and Khan was back to his calm and collected demeanor. More than 5,000 A rank monster cores and man ores, 30,000 B rank cores, and over more than 200,000 C rank cores. In the weapons department, there were 17 epic rank weapons such as swords, staves, giant swords, bows, and a variety of equipment like armor, gauntlets, shields, defensive clothing, and some attires made for aristocrats. Khan even got 30 mana bombs, nearly 80 high-grade health and stamina recovery potions, various attack buff potions, as well as rare rank artifacts. Solomon had plenty of defensive artifacts on himself. The same kind Khan barely managed to break in time with the help of his Azura mode Va Berserk God mode combined, and that too with Hero of Darkness title being in effect. So he understood how effective these artifacts were. Although Khan didn't have time to study magic properly till now because of his priorities, he definitely wasn't going to skip on it in the future. Just fighting Solomon had given him a newfound urge and yearning to learn magic seriously very soon. Finally, something useful. Spoke Khan as he looked at the heap of magic spellbooks in front of him, and to his surprise, there were 7 books about space law itself. These were the archives of knowledge the elven mage had gathered over 200 years of his life. So naturally, none of them were useless random books but the most accurate and detailed ones to study magic. The books on space law alone gave Khan a sense of relief because now he won't have to search for reliable information about the space law, and he could practice it better when he gets settled in the capital properly. As for the gold, he was officially a tycoon at this point, because his new net worth was something even the richest people in Flavit City didn't have. His personal worth was now 13.7 million gold coins. The 3 old men made him extremely rich overnight. And the resources he now had were more than enough to not worry about money for years to come. Khan gave a new set of weapons, equipments, and armors to 4 subordinates as their previous ones were destroyed by the Magma Drake. And after all of them received epic rank gears and weapons, they were a force to be reckoned with. System, take these monster cores and mana ores to resurrect Oliver, Armin, and Jugram. And can you make them revive faster? Queried Khan. Yes, but the host will have to provide 4 times more cores of high grade such as a rank vs rank for the resurrection procedure. Replied the system. I see. I'm not in a hurry for now, so let's go through with normal revival, said Khan, and then looked at the dead bodies. Ronin, put your hands on all 3 dead assassins. Eat their cores first, commanded Khan. In the case of subordinates with a 100% increase in loyalty, he no longer needed another subordinate with evolution skill unlocked. So it'd be best to directly use the bodies of these 3 peak Grandmaster rank assassins to directly merge with Ronin. and since they had their cores intact, Khan expected wonderful rewards. Cyril, put your hands on Solomon. He commanded the necromancer and the only mage amongst his 6 generals. Since Cyril was also a variant, he wasn't tied to a particular magical element. Just that he had more affinity with the dark magic because he was mixed with the undead lich. But his spells and levels would definitely improve by tons if he was merged with the semi-saint rank mage like Solomon. Omega, I'm mixing you with Arkham. It's time you unlock a fighter job for yourself as well, declared Khan. Currently, Omega Varudra didn't have any fighter class for themselves because they were descendants of god beasts, unlike the 6 generals who were created using bodies of different class specimens. But since both of them were variants, they could unlock a unique class for themselves. In his current state, there was no swordsman in his team formation except Khan himself. So Omega, after getting fused with Arkham, the magic swordsman would definitely make a huge difference in the future. This way, Omega won't have a problem mixing with the crowd in his human form. Blackwell, I don't have a proper specimen for you to mix with, so next time, spoke Khan. As you command, my master, spoke Blackwell and jumped in Khan's shadow. Now you 3. Merge, commanded Khan and started the synthesis process. And just as he expected, in an hour all of them were ready. And Ronin even broke through to High Lord rank because of the 3 peak Grandmaster assassins, 2 of whom had their cores intact. So now, Ronin was eligible for using the Metamorphosis bloodline and take a human form. Meanwhile, Omega Vasseril didn't meet the conditions as their level was still below 85. Eat these cores and raise your levels till the next time you come out, spoke Khan and gave 1,000 a rank cores to each of them. Omega's class changed to Magic Swordsman, while Cyril only gained new elemental skills from Solomon's body. Both of them barely missed the threshold to activate bloodline effects. Tomorrow was the time to leave the Flavit city. Khan looked at Ronin, who not only met the conditions to utilize the Metamorphosis bloodline effect, but also become a High Lord. A High Lord monster was comparable to a peak Grandmaster rank fighter. And since Khan used 3 bodies of such assassins of this level, 2 of them had their cores intact, Ronin had no problems from going from level 62 to level 87. And with Khan unlocking importation skill with all the subordinates that had reached 100% loyalty, Ronin now possessed all of Khan's assassin skills and abilities, including his own merged abilities such as Fear Toxin, Grappling Extension, Subterfuge, Shadow Strike, Doppelganger, and many others. Ronin had now turned to a handsome human with similar height and built as Khan, just with long black hair and green eyes. There was a black mask ingrained in the left side of his face. As Khan could remember, it was similar to the skull mask Ronin had when he was merged with Pethral, the 12th floor boss. A handsome and elegant face with a well-toned, lean and muscular body. The green eyes giving him a look of a mysterious and cold young man. The shoulder-length long black hair fit his persona. Ronin now emitted an aura of someone coming from a big background. Even Khan felt for a moment that he had a competition in terms of looks and appearance. Because with these looks alone, Ronin's appearance was fitting to be a protagonist of those cultivation novels with ease. Khan sorted out all his amassed wealth and dressed up in new clothes he bought on the day of the banquet. Although he had given him an epic rank gear they got from the 3 assassins, the appearance wasn't suitable for normal day-to-day life. And after the appearance change, he gave Ronin a new set of high-quality coat, shoes and high-quality material robes that had more agility tactical advantage if they were to engage in a fight. But that ended up making Ronin look like a young master of a noble clan instead. Author. Reference art for Ronin's new appearance given in chapter comments. Check it out. Khan then dressed in his new set of black clothes that gave him the appearance of someone who hunted monsters. Unlike the former, he had to mix into the normal crowd for now. After all the wealth was completely sorted and gathered in 4 different space rings with a wider inner space, Khan decided to leave. He had to leave covertly and without leaving any clues that could tie him to Arkham Solomon's disappearance. Although he was certain that Arkham Solomon also made sure that no one would know about their ambush against Khan. Being careful never hurt anyone. For the next hour, Khan and Ronin spent their time in erasing tracks and signs of battle in this valley. Nothing that could lead it to them, not even traces of Khan's blood, were left on the battlefield. When the noon finally came, Khan returned to Flavit City in the form of a demonkin warrior while Ronan followed behind him while hiding under a black cloak. Khan met Jerome and told him about his departure, gifting him and the chef 1,000 gold coins to each as a bonus for serving him well during his stay. To both of them, Khan appeared like a saint who solved all of their worries. Even high-class chefs caretakers like them barely received 100 gold coins as their monthly salary, but Khan gifted them 10 times more only for serving him for a month. Little did they know, to the super-rich tycoon like him, this amount was no different than a small chunk of change. Their vehement eyes were full of worship for Khan as they bade him farewell. His next stop was Nikola Elenev, although he had a sort of argument with these two during Jessica's incident. He had forgiven both of them at this point, because they too were helpless and had to look for their own. In a way, they had helped him learn a few things about this world, so it was reasonable for him to say his final goodbyes to the father and son duo. When the evening finally came, Khan met Albestros in the desolate warehouse again as per their previous agreement. To both of them, it was a new chapter of their life coming after they left the city. To the old Grandmaster Blacksmith, this city had nothing left for him other than painful memories and horrible experiences. This city was once his home, but now all it gave him was nightmares. Thanks to Khan, the old man had finally found a way to move on and live his remaining days as he saw fit, doing what he wanted to do. For Khan, the old man had his uses because, unlike him, the old blacksmith had knowledge of the capital and had ties there which could help him settle down there. But there were two more uses for this old man that Khan would definitely take advantage of after they got settled inside the capital. So escorting him there safely was an inclination on his part. Khan introduced Ronan to the old man, saying that he was one of the people who served him and was also a peak Grandmaster rank assassin. Both of them visited Jessica's grave for the last time and finally decide to depart from this city for good. When the evening finally came, Khan ordered Ronan to check out the city gate exits that they were going to use to leave the city by mixing in the crowd. Although they could use luxurious traveling services, Khan chose to go along with small-time and cheap caravans, and that provided this service. They had to leave without raising any suspicion because Albestros was still on the wanted list of the 4 of the strongest noble clans of the city. When they finally reached the North City Gate while dressed up under black cloaks and mixed among the crowd of people exiting the city gates, he received a message from Ronan through the hive mind skill who was doing reconnaissance. Khan's countenance turned serious after receiving the report, and he spoke to himself. Some people never learn, do they? At this moment, Khan and Albestros were walking amongst the crowd of thousands of people full of various beastkins and demi-humans who were trying to enter and exit the city gates. The bustling crowd was in a hurry because it was the time of the evening, and soon the sun will disappear. Those who finished today's struggle of life would return to their homes and relax, while those who had to travel outside to other destinations or their professions required them to work at night were leaving out of the gates. Khan and Albestros were mixed within the crowd, trying to leave peacefully, but after hearing Ronan's report, he felt like the noble clans hadn't truly learned their lessons and still wanted to kill the old Grandmaster Blacksmith. They were so daring to even keep hundreds of their fighters hidden in plain sight in the nearby settlements to city gates, as part of normal crowd but ready to attack at a moment's notice. With their numbers alone, city guards won't be able to interfere or do anything in such a short time if they decided to slaughter someone right at the gates. Since Khan was no longer a fool to show any form of negligence, he ordered Ronan to check how many people he could find who looked normal with their appearance but had killing intent and murderous aura around them. Given Ronan's new rise in levels and ranks, it wasn't hard for him to find these many in 2-kilometer perimeter of the city gates. "Stop," spoke Khan. "What happened?" asked Albestros, who was wearing a black cloak and walking beside him. "We're surrounded, old man. Looks like they don't want to let you leave this city alive. If they did, there will be no one in the city who will fear them anymore," replied Khan. "Then, should we run back?" asked the old man. "No, if they want to do it the hard way. I'll give them one final show," spoke Khan. "Ronan, here's what I want you to do," spoke Khan to the subordinate telepathically and explained the plan that just came in his mind. When the duo finally reached close to the city gates, one of the guards stopped them and checked their faces. His expression suddenly changed to that of a surprise, and he looked towards a building and nodded as if he was sending a signal. Khan's acute senses that could now feel and hear everything in 2-kilometer radius picked up hundreds of footsteps of people charging towards the gate. So they have their connections in city guards as well, I see. That's him. Surround him, shouted a wolfkin assassin who was dressed in a normal attire. No one could have guessed this type of person to be a master rank fighter. One by one, dozens then nearly 200 people started coming towards their direction. Stab. But before they reached 500 meters close to the crowd where Khan Albestros were hidden, one of these assailants, a female tigerkin warrior in the front, fell on the ground and a metal pike-like rod was revealed from her back. Suddenly, a dense and heavy black green aura filled 1 kilometer space, and a cloud of white smoke was spread around the army of assailants. Many of the enemies, each of whom had different weapons, were put on the ground by this oppressive aura of dominance, as if a dungeon boss himself had targeted every single one of them. This aura was comparable to a peak Grandmaster rank person as well. A deathly and grim voice resounded in the area that sent shivers to not only the assailants but also the innocent bystanders. Looks like you noble clans really don't understand what a warning means. I think it's about time I give a visit to your clan heads one by one. Gasp! Hundreds of people gasped in surprise when they saw the source of this tyrannical declaration. Above a 50-meter tall watchtower stood a hooded figure, clad in dark gray robes. The wind fluttered this figure's clothes as a man who appeared similar to the Grim Reaper came in everyone's sight. Hey! Azrael! Shouted one of the assailants in shock. But before they could react, the angel of death, who declared that he would disappear, came to the old man's rescue again. Run! Shouted one of the enemies who was at the far end and least affected by this aura. Swoosh! Before this man could even turn his head and run, a spear-like extension that was thrown out of Azrael's hands pierced right through his neck 500 meters away. Looks like you lot think I'm not watching you anymore, spoke Azrael, and jumped in the middle of these spies and warriors of the noble clans that were surrounded by fear toxin. No! Wailed a woman. One by one, the sound of dozens of bodies being cut and poked through this white mist filled the city gate's perimeter, and everyone who was watching from afar stood rooted on the spot as a one-sided massacre started. And the one causing it was none other than Azrael. At this moment, when the guard reverted his eyes again, the figure of the old man was nowhere to be seen. Ha! Hoof! Panted Albestros as they finally ran few kilometers away and stopped towards a traveling caravan that had normal monster steeds. These were like taxis in this region used to travel to different cities. Although there were magical beasts and more luxurious services for traveling, they chose these ones that would cost them weeks to reach the capital but were also very low profile. They both paid fares and sat inside one of these carriages. The one causing a slaughter at city gates at this moment was none other than Ronan, who was dressed as Azrael after Khan's orders. Khan used him to create a diversion and escaped with the old man to the outermost region of city gates where thousands of people gathered before leaving for different destinations. Although the voice belonged to Ronan, the words were his. This was his final warning to the entire city that Azrael will always be watching them. Sitting in one of the seats, Khan gave a final glance to the Flavit city. This was the first civilization he came across after jumping out of that void crack. In the past 2 months, he went from a man in an unknown world to someone who could now fight against many strong people on his own. After appearing inside the Abyss Forest, Khan was chased down and nearly killed by a pack of giant wolves. He created Omega after fusing 2 of the bodies. Then they killed the legendary beast named Somir, a descendant of the god-beast basilisk, by using its maternal instinct and making it sacrifice itself to protect its eggs. Khan, who was later affected by the strong remnant will of this legendary monster, decided to use its body and the eggs that were now bound to die and created Rudra, his strongest subordinate till this point. After saving Nikola Elenev from the bandit group attack, he finally entered Flavit City. Through the father and son duo, he had a temporary residence and time to think about his future. And when he finally decided to become an adventurer because that would be his best option to raise his strength by hunting and fighting monsters by himself, he came across Arkham Va Solomon. Both the top figures in the city offered him a contract with a selfish intent behind it. But because of these men, he received a lot of money and resources to raise his levels, gain multiple abilities and skills by killing the contract targets and the monsters he fought in due process. Not only he used their connections in his favor, but also learned skills and increased his weapon mastery via combat techniques mastery of various professions under the pretense of training to properly kill his targets. Then, he gained the basic abilities via skills of various classes and even created the 6 generals named Blackwell, Jugram, Oliver, Ronan, Cyril va Armin. All of who played a vital role as part of his own army and had a ton of potential to become something more powerful and extremely useful in the future. Later, to hide his targeted killings, Khan created the persona of Azrael, the Angel of Death who later gained the moniker of Azrael, the Adjudicator. And after using the Snakekin as a means to spread the news about him, he gained a lot of fame as well. But because of his greed and carelessness. An innocent bystander like Jessica who kept her mouth shut till the last moment of her life just to repay Khan for saving her life twice, died a horrible and tragic death. Khan, who wasn't a hypocrite who'd run away from the responsibility of getting someone innocent killed because of what he did, finally exacted revenge for her and gave her a proper funeral in the end. She had become a person who left a deep impression on him and taught him a big lesson on why he shouldn't get involved with others if he can't afford to fight strong powers or groups. After he got acknowledgement from the top figures in the city, he became focused on raising his strength by hunting the lower-level dungeon bosses who gave him tons of different and useful skills. He even fought the undead Lich and was killed by him because of his ignorance, but ended up unlocking the title of Hero of Darkness, which made him 3 times stronger at night and made him invincible against enemies using dark magic via darkness attribute. When he fought Dungeon Boss and Rudra reappeared at the last moment, he gained the core of the peak Saint rank Emperor of Rocco's empire. It was something that had many uses to it and was something that an empire would go to war for. Later, he contradicted his motto and decided to interfere and exact revenge for Albestros's dead children because the morality of his old self made him feel like it was a right thing to do. Eventually, he ended up igniting a spark that caused a wildfire which would burn the whole structure of the society in Flavit City. Both his deed as Azrael when he played the hero of justice via him clearing the dungeon caused severe consequences that even he couldn't have foreseen or control. The main lesson he learned was that if you truly do not have the strength to fight for yourself, there was no sense of right or wrong, law or justice would help you. This was something that rose a hunger for power inside him. What gave him the biggest lesson of life was both Arkham va Solomon trying to ambush and kill him. Just because he didn't have enmity against these two, he had left his guard down and barely managed to survive against their onslaught. If not for his various abilities and buff skills, he would be dead for real and buried under a ground that no one would ever find out. This gave him a harsh lesson about how he should never trust anyone other than himself. That he must be always ready and prepare against a friend trying to stab him with a knife. This was something he would always believe and live by till the end of his new life. From being a naked man with no clothes to becoming the strongest fighter in this city of millions. From learning from his ignorance and mistakes to become wise and cautious. Flavit City had played a huge part in building his very foundation as a person. There were millions of things he didn't know or had seen yet. There were thousands of strong people and monsters he hadn't met yet. Although he wasn't adamant about following the deal he made with the God of Darkness yet. He still had found a direction and a destination he wanted to reach in his new life. Although Khan himself thought that he had become too strong very quickly, he also realized that it was nothing but his own assumption. Who knew how powerful were the people sitting at the top? And he didn't have any idea how strong were other heroes at this point either. So he welcomed this sudden and unexpected spike in his strength. He now had a foundation that could result in him becoming someone very strong va powerful in the future. Someone who could surpass the expectations he had for himself. For Khan, this wasn't just a departure. This was also a true beginning of his new life. End of Arc/Volume 1. Author. Thank you for reading till this chapter. For someone who didn't even believe in himself or ever thought about writing a novel, this is a huge accomplishment. With the time I spent writing these many chapters, I've improved my skills by a lot. I know it's nowhere near perfect, but I am learning many new things in the process. I'm evolving not only as a writer, but also as a person. And the immense support I'm receiving from many fans these days is truly overwhelming. I hope you can be part of this journey till I get to finish my vision for this story. Crimson Wolf. Note: if you liked the story so far, please leave a review. They help me reevaluate myself and improve upon the quality. An epilogue chapter is coming next. Please do not miss it. It will answer all your questions. Changed plots va queries. P.S. If you don't leave a 5-star review, you have a small PP. And if you're a woman and still don't do it, you'll grow one. So let the reviews come in as soon as you're done reading this chapter. Points a gun at you. Hope to see you sticking around. Extremely important chapter. Must read before you continue to the next arc, otherwise, everything will confuse you. This is your author Crimson Wolf here. In this epilogue chapter, we're going to discuss many things for the understanding of our old-time readers and newcomers. Some plots have been changed and some information was retconned recently. Some extra plots and reasonings were added because I failed to properly explain the plots back then. If you're reading this novel on WebNovel, then you'll read the corrected chapters. If on some pirated site who don't update or re-upload corrected chapters, may God of Darkness have mercy on your souls. You ended up reading a half-ass and trash version of this novel. Hoo. And you're also missing out all the epic and awesome character reference arts I share in chapter comments, such as arts for Khan, Omega, Leaken Form, 6 Generals, Rudra, Azura Mode, Dracos Armor, Lucifer, Dungeon Floor Bosses, Arkham Va Solomon, and many more to come. Trust me, it's worth reading from the original source.
So in the form of Q và A.
I will be explaining these changes and how the power system Va ranks work in this novel because I simply failed to do so before, since I was a complete newbie to the writing sector back in the day and did not set up things beforehand. But since you're reading this chapter, it means you've decided to stick around and accompany Khan in his journey. So I owe it to everyone who has been reading and supporting this work. And I wish to make things clear about many of the plots and reasoning behind them. So let's start with often asked questions first. Q. MC as Elric was nothing but simp. He deserved to get Khan va die. Really? The majority didn't even know that word before it became a trend. And that's basically a culture on its own given the current situation of the entertainment industry va social media. Let it be movies, TV shows, anime, superheroes, celebrities va, even your so-called icons do that as long as it gets them money. That's a whole different structure of the society itself in our current world. Elric was indeed one of the so-called nerd, otaku virgins, and he fell for the most obvious trap the people with that mindset va lifestyle normally do in our real world. Half of the people ranting about it are the ones who think they're better, but these are the same people who get scammed by their friends and family in real life. But that's none of my business. Q. Why didn't the previous heroes who came before Elric chose ability absorption, dimensional law va synthesis? They must be completely stupid. Every single one of them came from different era and from different worlds. Not all were from Earth. So they'd prioritize on whatever their mindset based on their respective eras, traditional train of thought, and what suited them best based on their respective capabilities. Why would someone trained in warfare would choose abilities he wasn't confident in using or had no prior knowledge of? Why would someone who was a scholar pick up abilities that would need them to go hunt monsters in a forest? Besides, none of them had any prior knowledge of the potential of these abilities and also didn't grow up reading novels va mangas or watched anime. Like us. So only Elric was able to see through the potential, and hence he chose these three. Q. MC threw shade at others for calling the wolves with traditional names but named it Omega. How is that better? The plot hasn't been changed, and nor the logic is. Khan chose the name because he knew he was going to create new subordinates later anyway, so the title of the alpha of the pack belongs to him. And that's why he named the first subordinate as Omega. Q. Why did MC turn stupid and made that oath after killing the mother Somir? This plot was actually not properly explained because of my rookie mistakes back in the day. I've already re-edited that chapter so new readers won't have any questions. This explanation is for our old-time readers. after eating the core and getting influenced by the dead Somir's will, which was a mother who sacrificed her life for the children without a hitch, had deeply moved Khan because in his case, his family was never there for him when he needed their help va support the most. Seeing how he was already made to realize the consequences of his actions, he swears to make Rudra one of the strongest beings. Elric was a man with regard for life and had a moral code. You can't expect someone's behavior to change overnight for the sake of plot convenience. Q. Why is Rudra not loyal to Khan? That's bullshit and a legit plot hole. I'm gonna copy-pasta the paragraph I wrote in edits again, so you may get a proper understanding. Because only strong acknowledges the strong. Weaklings are not even worth looking at in their opinion. And that's why Rudra had not acknowledged Khan in the slightest. The gigantic snake could just swat its tail and Khan would be turned into meat paste. That was their current situation. Because no matter what, an ant cannot control a full-grown dragon. A newborn baby cannot control an adult king just because they held the leash. If not for the restrictions made by the synthesis divine ability, Rudra could kill Khan with a sneeze. And that's why he had to look for a different approach. I hope this gives a simple explanation. I can't spoon-feed more than this. Q. Why did he choose antidote potions? He has a Grandmaster rank immunity. They're just there for display in case he had to help someone or look like he took the antidote in case he was poisoned, to avoid unnecessary suspicion. Q. Why did he not take Stragaber's body va made subordinates after killing the top fighters of the Sigurd clan? Because Khan wanted to make it look like the work of another clan. Nobody else than him had any use for dead bodies. Q. Why does the MC call himself no different than a killer? He hasn't killed anyone innocent or a child. Unlike how these novels and stories tell you in the world of adults and real life. Killing is killing. I could create 100 different reasons for Khan to justify him killing someone, like by making them a bad guy or someone who deserved it because of the crimes they committed. But it does not fundamentally change the fact that your hands have blood on them. I can't speak for other MCs, but Khan is someone who acknowledges that fact about himself and owns it. Q. Why do some of the old abilities still exist when MC clearly merged them using synthesis? Merged abilities va skills are a multipurpose and upgraded version of base abilities. But that does not mean the old ones disappear because of it. He is not creating subordinates by merging two bodies where the base specimens disappear after creating a new version. Q. Why did Khan get angry and felt responsible for a no-name character like Jessica? Unlike the majority of the antiheroes, Khan is someone with a moral code and consciousness. Although he's not averse to killing anyone if they stood in the way of his goals, he isn't a hypocrite to run away from responsibility if he caused an innocent person's death because of something he did. And that's why he gets enraged and goes on a killing spree to avenge her. Where he also learns that Jessica didn't sell him out till her last moment because he saved her life twice. So I for one think that his reaction va actions were acceptable. Q. Why didn't he call out Rudra against the undead lich fight? It's explained when Rudra reappears again when fighting the Magma Drake dungeon boss. Q. Will there be other reincarnated people va other heroes? Summoned using a magical ritual. They will have their own bodies. Few will be humans from Earth, but the majority will be from different worlds/dimensions. Each of them will have their own unique traits, divine abilities va powers. And since they all have the backing and resources of empires va churches, they already have a huge advantage over Khan, who has to hunt and look for resources by himself. The current Khan is very weak compared to all of them who were summoned quite some time ago. Let it be resources, people he can command, powerful allies, connections, and authority. He's lacking in every aspect and has to build things from scratch. Q. Is it the MC in the cover of the novel? Yes. I've never used a single cover if it didn't match the story. The current cover is one of his future/endgame appearances. The long white hair and red eyes are part of his Azura mode. Q. Will there be romance or a waifu in the future? No. I currently have no plans to create a romance or waifu candidate. And although I have planned for some badass female characters who will have a long time part in the story will have some influence till the endgame, I personally would prefer to not shift the story in that direction. It also goes completely against Khan's character because he was once betrayed because of his feelings love. He will be reluctant to fall for that cycle again. Q. How is Khan an anti-hero when he's choosing to not kill people or spare the members of some clans? First of all, we've been over this already. An anti-hero does not mean an edgelord or a psychopath who kills people for no reason. Khan won't kill the wife children because he has a beef with the father. Or he won't massacre an entire clan just because he has enmity with the top-ranking members running it. That's nothing but a wish fulfillment type of story made for 14 years old who just joined the internet. You don't outright kill someone because you had a small quarrel with them. And you definitely don't go and kill their family because they share the same blood. An anti-hero is someone who looks for their own gains than playing a selfless and righteous hero of justice. Now that the line above must have made you think about Khan being a hypocrite and doing the same thing I just mentioned about being a hero of justice. Q. MC said he won't be a hypocrite, but why is he doing the same with the blacksmith his children's story? It hasn't even been 2 months since Khan was sent to this world. The teachings and outlook he had on the world won't change or get aligned with the new world that easily. Even Khan acknowledges that was indeed acting like a hypocrite and went against his own words when he decided to interfere. But the old man's perseverance, even after losing his reason to stay alive, just to see his children receiving the justice they deserved, made Khan realize how big and a sore loser he was when he lived as Elric. That how he wallowed in self-pity and used his life experiences as a gateway to commit suicide. And how he could have had a different life if he had held on to a more positive outlook. Q. How is MC even an anti-hero if he gets enraged by hearing other people's suffering and exact revenge for them? To make him an anti-hero, I first wanted to make him experience what it means to playing the warrior of justice first, and the consequences that come with making that decision. His actions caused a small war in the city and resulted in hundreds of people dying because of his message as Azrael. He owns the consequences of his actions as well. I made this whole injustice plot so that he sees both sides of the coin, becomes a truly rational person, and then decides which side he wants to pick. I call that foundational work and good reason for character development. Q. Somir's scales should have merged with Drake's scales. And not possible. Both are high-rank bloodline-specific abilities belonging to species that are more like each other's archenemy. They're incompatible with each other. Maybe in the future, Khan will be able to do it. But the current him simply doesn't have the ability to make it happen. Q. Why does War Deity Body shows no considerable effects or make a difference? It's already at stage 4. This plot has been explained in current chapters and not something I added later. But in case you missed that part, here's the explanation. War Deity Body will only show its effects on Khan's physiology and strength after he breaks through stage 1 Saint rank. His current body is unable to withstand the transmutation procedure. So for now, there are no noticeable effects or changes. But do mind you, this is something that will definitely give him an edge over other heroes in future arcs. But there is still some time for that to happen. Q. If MC is so smart, why did he not prepare against or think of a possible ambush set by Arkham Solomon? Obviously, he had made a mistake because of his previous encounters with both of them. And he's not an omnipotent god who can know and see through everything. He can't control someone else's actions or their reasons. Naturally, he will learn many lessons from these experiences, and they will end up shaping him into a proper anti-hero character in the future. Like I've said before, Arc 1 is nothing but Khan's first stop of the journey. There's a lot to come. Complaint 1. This world is no different than other ice-sky worlds. It is the same setting and same species of creatures we've seen in normal reincarnation novels. Yes, I also acknowledge that fact. Initially, I wanted to introduce many different species of living beings, but I was so consumed on how to make a more stable arc for the MC Va, what powers to give him by killing monsters. I ended up skipping out on it inadvertently. I admit my faults here. But good news. The world setting is getting a huge upgrade after our MC goes to the capital of Rocco's empire. And you'll also see his scamming and accountant side. He can't always go hunting in a dungeon and fight monsters all the time. Even I will drop the novel if that plot kept repeating. Complaint 2. The MC is becoming OP too quickly. Yes, it was never my intention to make him a weakling who gets bullied by the strong and has to get stronger bit by bit and then come back to take revenge. Khan is someone who won't mess with anybody for no reason. But if someone slapped him in the face, he will at least break a few bones in return. And if you notice throughout Arc 1, he never truly picked a fight with someone he wasn't confident in defeating. He chose all his battles carefully until he had the abilities via enough manpower to accomplish his goals. His rise in strength by the end of Arc 1 will make him strong enough to at least be able to protect himself. And other sides of his characters and his traits are going to be explored in the future arcs. Plus, there are tons of new characters coming soon. So you won't be disappointed that he became too OP real quick. Now time for a ranking system for everything. Following are the ranks for fighter classes / professions in ascending order. Beginner, Intermediate, Master, Grandmaster, 3 stages till these ranks. Semi-Saint, a threshold stage before entering a completely different realm of power. Saint, Demigod, God. Followings are the ranks for monster classes and their species / bloodlines. Common, Elite, Rare, Unique, Lord, High Lord, Legendary, Mythical, God Beast. Following are the ranks for weapons and armors. Normal, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Rare, Epic, Legendary, Ancient, Divine weapon / armor. Ranks for abilities Va skills. E to C equals common. B to A equals rare. S rank. SS rank. SSS. Smoking sexy style, rank. Saint rank. Legendary rank. Divine rank, the ones all the heroes including Khan are given. Strongest creatures / beings in the world based on species Va bloodlines. Humans / demi-humans.
Purebot và Evovet Monster.
Descendants of God Beasts.
Chu Demon và Angel.
God Beasts. Dragons. Demigods. True gods. I know this is a lot of info dump, but it was important and necessary than introducing or explaining them like an amateur later in the upcoming story. So you can always come back to this chapter for references and better understanding. Now we talk about the most important and the very reason I'm still writing this novel. The money. I mean the fans. Never had I believed that I would gain the support of so many people who liked the story and felt the potential for the vision I have for the future. I do read and respond to any reasonable questions and queries of the fans. As long as it does not involve me in revealing any spoilers, I'll try to clear out your confusion Va queries. And all of your suggestions and criticism are always welcomed. And do point out any grammatical mistake you see. I too want to write a foolproof novel as well.
PS refrain from using F-word, Y-word và N-word in chapter và paragraph comment.
Web novel automatically deletes them, so I can't reply to your questions via other things. Now, here are the names of the fans who have received their rightful place in the Hall of Fame. These are the people because of whom I can afford food these days. 1. Mortality_sold, our first ever reader who gifted this story a spacecraft via the biggest supporter. Hail thy queen. 2. Warren_W, one of our old readers who's been supporting for a long time. 3. Ruby_Iolu. 4. Connor_Hall. 5. Cody_Stute. 6. Ryan Anthony, sir, another long-time supporter. 7. Drod_P. 8. Philip_Huntman. 9. Shaq_Fu, he reads the chapter the next second it gets released. 10. Uvular Burrito. P.S. If you want your names immortalized like this, spend more coins. LOL. Now, the following is the list of people who have been supporting this novel before it even had 10K views. It was during my rookie days, and these people showed faith in me when I didn't even believe in my vision. Some joined later, but their constant support has earned them a spot. So no way I'm skipping on their names. 1. Hero, first one to see the potential of the novel. 2. Luckin_Gawater. Comments and support on every chapter. 3. Gerthang, one of the most vocal supporters of the work. 4. Darkslayer, my fellow DMC fanboy. 5. Firefly 4545. He understands all the references. 6. Rahul_Charn_9446. Big time supporter for months now. 7. Arashi Tenebris, he finds and provides a lot of source materials for me to do research va expand my knowledge. Gotta give a salute for his efforts. 8. Melissa_Howard, just another girl drooling over Khan's body. 9. Grizzly Sloth, part of our first reader's base. 10. PMC_Skull. With this, I officially declare the end of Arc/Volume 1. Next chapter is the beginning of Arc 2. So see you soon. Crimson Wolf out. Under a clear, bright sky and breezy weather, a pleasant scenery of blossoming flowers and lush green trees soothed the souls of everyone who stood in this surrounding. It was the time of spring, the season of rejuvenation va rebirth. Anyone who passed through this wide and open valley would feel their bodies and mind cleansed of all the negativity in their lives. Khum. Thud. Over 30 carriages made to carry 20 people at once and hundreds of people walking slowly passed through these paved roads as the sound of monster steeds, which looked a lot like a mix of various dinosaur species with agile builds, pulled these carriages. These carriages were no different than buses on Earth, just without an engine pulling them. While the heavy cargoes were carried by the giant and bulky tamed beasts with a body resembling gigantic rhinos. The children belonging to different species playing together. Their small shenanigans brightened up the mood of this caravan. More than 100 guards were divided and spread around as small groups in different directions to protect these travelers. Amongst these multiple carriages, few were far luxurious and very comfortable compared to the others. In one of the slow-paced carriages, sat a man on the seat at the edge which was close to the exit. A bunch of children ran behind this slow carriage and spoke to the young man clad in black coat and adventurer's gear. Brother Khan, you said you would teach me to fight with a sword today when we stop for a rest in the evening. Don't forget your promise. Spoke a young and frail demonkin child amongst the group of children who appeared to be around 7 to 8 years old. Humph, you wish. Big Brother Khan promised to play Princess Von Night with us already? Said a young foxkin girl with yellow ears as her fluffy tail wriggled in excitement. There was another faction of small cute girls walking behind these boys, as if these two were different political factions disagreeing with each other. Yeah, I'll play around with you guys, but don't run like this. You'll fall on the road this way, replied the handsome and elegant-looking man. Oi, kids, don't disturb Boss Khan. Go play around somewhere else. A guard wearing light armor and a crossbow interjected. His scolding scattered the children while most of them showed him their tongue in retort. Let them be, they're just small kids. Who will play around if not for them? Spoke Khan. Okay, sir. And if you need anything, just tell me and I'll arrange for it. Spoke the male elven guard. Khan nodded back and gazed around the surrounding forested area of this alley, and he breathed in the fresh air. It had been more than 2 weeks since Khan va Albestros left the Flavit city and departed for the capital as part of the next chapter in their respective lives. The reason why everyone was showing their respect towards Khan was because in the past 2 weeks since they started their journey for the capital, where most of the travelers were going for important tasks and some to make a living, their caravan had been attacked 5 times. 3 of which were the sudden ambushes from bandit groups and 2 times were from ferocious monster hordes. It was one thing if all the guards were situated at a set location together, but because of their distributed setup to provide protection from all sides, even the 100 guards in charge of defending against such ambushes were not able to respond to the onslaught swiftly and effectively. At the end of the day, it was a very cheap caravan made only for a poor class of people who couldn't afford high traveling fares. Even the guards were not that well geared and each had only common rank equipment and weapons. But during all those incidents, Khan suddenly emerged as a Grandmaster rank fighter and single-handedly took down these attackers and monsters alike. Forget fighting back. None of these people and beasts could even get their faces out of the ground under Khan's war dominance aura. His senses were already twice more effective and had the range of 4 kilometers ever since he broke through to semi-saint rank. So he was alerted of the enemies even before they attacked the caravan. He deliberately let out his aura and let everyone feel the pressure to establish his strength during these fights. So when his might was revealed, everyone not only saw him as their savior but also a true powerhouse. Hence the respect and special treatment he was receiving from time to time. But rather than acting aloof and some top figure, Khan mixed in with the other passengers like a normal man who was one of them and not someone with a high standing or a huge background. This left a very favorable impression of him on all the travelers. At this moment, Khan spoke with Albestros, who was sitting on the opposite side of the carriage seats. "So who's your connection in the capital? We will at least have a place to stay for a while, right? Because I don't want to stay in those inns like a drifter," spoke Khan. Not that he didn't have enough money, it was just that he was subliminally brainwashing Albestros into thinking that they were together in form of friendship or companionship. Khan had few plans for this Grandmaster rank blacksmith and wanted to gain many things from him after they reached the capital. And what better way to do it than making the person next to him think that now their fates were tied together. "Don't worry about it, kid. I have a good friend in the capital who's also a very influential figure. He will definitely help us out until we get ourselves properly settled there and decide what to do next," spoke Albestros. "Good then. I have no clue what will become of us. There isn't even a demand for adventurers in the capital.
Oligarch và mercenary.
The ones I have no intention of working as," spoke Khan as he sighed. He was currently only good at fighting. He hadn't raised his skills and knowledge in magic more than the bare minimum. In front of a true mage like Solomon, Khan was a toddler when it came to their magic spells and mastery. He barely managed to survive from all those elemental mage spells and destructive attacks. So he indeed put learning and becoming more proficient in magic on his priority list. And there was also the dimensional law ability which he had to master. What he learned from reading many books is that compared to other professions, magicians required the highest amount of resources and practice to improve their skills. Plus, there were also magic formations, artifacts, and magic spell scrolls that came under this study. So what he wanted to do first was set himself up properly there first and have a lifestyle where he won't have to worry about income and people looking over his shoulder, so he could invest all of his time in studying magic and understand the dimensional law divine ability, which was, in his opinion, an extremely terrifying ability which was essential to save his life in the future if he met someone he could not fight against. While Khan was lost in his thoughts, suddenly his ears picked up a sound of a skirmish. He quickly jumped out of the carriage and took a look around. Using hunter's intent, he searched for the source of the battle. "Everyone, be alert!" shouted Khan and broke the peaceful and tranquil atmosphere. He went to the leader of the guards who stood in a group. "Sir Khan, what happened?" asked the leader. "There are hundreds of people fighting in the northwest from our location just 4 kilometers away. You can't see it because of the valley and these trees. Get all these people together and put up a defensive formation. Women va children in the innermost part. I'll go and check around what's it about, whether we might come in danger because of them or not," explained Khan as he summoned Lucifer out of his space ring and dashed in the direction of the battle. If it was someone else, even the guards would have neglected their command, but since it was him who saved their lives so many times already and they acknowledged his strength, the leader ordered everyone to gather around and get inside a defensive formation. Khan, on the other end, dashed within the treelines and reached towards the source of the sound of people fighting. After finally reaching close to the battlefield, he quickly used concealment skill and hid amongst the thick bushes. The scene before him was something he wasn't unfamiliar with. Clang. Shrill. Bang. More than 200 people were fighting against each other. One side had white and golden patterned armors, and the other one was clad in black clothes and armors like pieces on a chessboard. Blood and detached limbs with cut-down entrails filled the battleground. Khan didn't bother caring about helping either side because the more dead bodies, the more things he could loot and more subordinates he could create. But when he saw the sigil on the banners of the defending side, he instantly remembered what this sigil represented. After he took a long, deep breath, Khan spoke. "Ah shit, here we go again." Screams and wails of hundreds of people fighting in a death battle filled the dense valley. A gory scene with chopped bodies, heads, limbs and intestines colored the ground red. The cries for help and mercy from time to time also gave a ghastly and eerie touch to the scenery on this side of the valley. Dozens of mages and rangers attacked with their large area of effect spells and skills that Chardva shredded their enemies alive or had numerous holes made inside them. Stab! Stab! Suddenly, a volley of arrows from the tall trees fell on the fighters of the defending side, and multiple males and female fighters dropped dead on the ground after having their heads and eyes poked through these arrows. At the end of the defending side was an extremely high-grade and well-carved luxurious carriage that was surrounded by dozens of knights and mages, and inside this carriage was a young boy who appeared to be 18 or so years old. "Master Sale, we should think about retreating. We're already locked inside their formation. Even the teleportation scrolls aren't working now," spoke a tall and thin old man. His appearance looked as if he was already at death's door. "And run like cowards. The Vanderite clan will not go without a fight," declared the young boy. Thud. The very next second, the old man dropped dead inside the carriage as an arrow that passed through the window pierced his neck. "Our barriers are broken. Everyone run," shouted one of the warriors from the final line of defense. Stab! Before the man could even turn around and run, an arrow covered in black poison on its tips pierced his head right in between the eyebrows. Boom! Suddenly a big lightning spell fell on the remainder of the barrier, and it instantly shattered the protection barrier that was cast around this carriage. Stab! Clang! Slash! One by one, many mage spells and skills of different classes broke through the formation and bombarded the remaining fighters of the defending side. Bodies got obliterated and shredded on the spot because of these lethal attacks, and those who tried to escape were killed by the assassins who were hidden and invisible outside this formation. The one side that equally fought at the beginning was now thoroughly oppressed. The fighters clad in white armors started pleading for mercy and begging for help as the battle continued, and all of them started losing their lives. At this moment inside the carriage, Sale was horrified by the bones as he saw his attendant's body falling right in front of him. This was the first time this young boy had seen someone close to him dying right in front of his eyes. He shuddered in fear, and the words wouldn't even come out of his mouth. The angered and upstuck demeanor was nowhere to be seen. It was one thing to act someone with valor and high mental fortitude, but when it came to actually face adversity, not many people could hold up in reality. Just then, a loud shout came from the opposite side's leader and filled the entire place. "Sale more Vanderijk, surrender yourself, or you won't like it when we drag you out with our own hands," declared a halberd user who was clad in black and gray armor. The other soldiers from the attacking side started circling the remaining 4 warriors and the carriage. A frightened and skinny boy covered in aristocratic clothes came out of the carriage, and his feet landed on the bloodied ground. A figure of a young man with pale white skin tone and shoulder-length silver hair appeared on the battlefield. His eyes glimmered red, and 2 long teeth came out of his mouth. The innocent yet regal-looking face gave him the appearance of someone from a big background. "You damn Jinftrick scums! Do you really think that you'll stay alive after killing our people or capturing me?" shouted the boy. The leader of the opposition took off his helmet and revealed the face of a red wolfkin. He scoffed in response and gave a condescending look to the now surrounded enemy. "And who's gonna tell your family that it was us? And when did I say that we're here to capture you?" questioned the leader. What do you mean?" asked the young man. "Means we're not here to capture you, but we're here to kill you. This is where you and your vampire scums die by our hands." and then we will pin it on the other factions. Haha, elaborated the leader. With the faction leader's own son getting killed by the enemies. What do you think will happen? He asked in a sarcastic tone and laughed again. Just then, one of the soldiers protecting the boy suddenly swung his spear and cut the heads of the other 3 vampire guards in a swift attack. Thud! 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 Their headless bodies along with the detached heads dropped in the bloodied ground and a spray of blood erupted from their neck. The sudden victims of this betrayal didn't even get the chance of sensing the danger as the one who killed them was part of their own forces. No! Vetron! What's the meaning of this? Screamed the boy as he was surprised after this sudden attack. Shut up, you weakling! Said the spearman who suddenly turned on his companions and punched the boy in the face. The boy fell 3 meters away after suddenly getting punched in the face by one of his own men. Vetron looked at the people surrounding them and then the leader of the opposition. I've delivered on my promise. I hope you lot keep your end of the deal. None of this should be tracked to us, he said and started walking away from the boy and towards the leader of the attackers. Yeah, but there's a problem. It won't look like a perfect ambush. Unless, spoke the leader. Unless stab. Before Vetron could even complete his question. His neck was stabbed from the back by a dagger and a slick figure of an assassin appeared out of nowhere. Vetron grabbed his neck in shock as he lost control of his body and started choking on his blood. It didn't even take 10 seconds before the vampire died. Now it looks perfect, said the Wolfkin in joy. You! Why are you doing this? Don't you know what our faction will do if they find out? Threatened the boy after barely holding his jaw together. And who's gonna tell them now? The last time I heard. Dead people don't talk, said the leader as he smirked and released his aura, instantly putting the boy on the ground. The expression on the boy's face turned that of horror as the immense and heavy aura that was full of killing intent encapsulated his body. At this moment, Sale was under so much pressure that he couldn't even lift his head. The aura and pressure that came from the leader was exactly that of a peak Grandmaster rank warrior. Sale was shuddering in fear. Never had he imagined that one day he would be put at death's door, especially when he was the son of the faction leader of one of the strongest factions in the entire Rocco's empire. His secret visit to one of their territories, which was only known to the innermost circle of their family elders, was somehow leaked to one of the rival factions, and even with the security of 300 beginner and intermediate master rank fighters provided by his clan failed to protect him from this sudden ambush. Beads of sweat dropped his face as he barely had the strength to even move a finger under this terrifying bloodlust. Now die and flame the war that will burn down our enemies. That should be the only good thing you did in your life, you damn blood-sucking bastard. Spoke the Wolfkin and put his halberd over Sale's neck. I wonder what your father and grandfather would feel when we send them your head as a gift. Spoke the Wolfkin and chuckled. The next second, he lifted his halberd with both hands and swung it in a swift motion. Shing! But before the blade of the halberd could even reach the target, a black greatsword with crimson veins spread around the sharp and heavy blade stopped it midway through the attack. Boom! A loud burst of black and red aura suddenly filled the entire battlefield of 1 kilometer radius. And the aura of the peak Grandmaster Wolfkin was thrown away in a single second. There were still more than 200 attackers from the Wolfkin side left on the battlefield, and every single one of them dropped on the ground. Their bodies slumped under this heavy and oppressive aura of this new entity that was full of dominance and tyranny. This aura was even 5 times heavier and ghastly compared to their leader, who was now thrown 20 meters away after the explosion of this aura. Sale, who finally felt the pressure on him gone, lifted his head and saw the figure of his savior. A tall young man who was donned in a black and leathery long coat and had a 5-feet-long black greatsword placed over his shoulder was now exuding the pressure of an absolute ruler and put all of the enemies in the ground under his immense chaotic aura. Yar, spoke the warrior in black and looked at the Wolfkin. Who the hell explains their entire plan just because their target is now surrounded? Even I got bored listening to your rambles. Spoke the young man, and his handsome face was revealed to all the enemies. To Sale, this young man's figure appeared too heroic. His broad back and muscly build could even be interpreted through his clothes as his long coat and hair fluttered in the air. The last-second entry gave this man a mysterious feeling of those legendary heroes who came to save the day. To Sale, who was ready to accept his fate and die in an unknown valley. This man had become his savior. Are you here to save me?" asked Sale to the man with expectant eyes. The next moment, the man clad in black attire glanced at Sale and finally spoke. "Who the hell said anything about saving you? I'm just here to rob you all." Silence. Total silence. Khan's sudden declaration of daylight robbery, when these people were having a life-and-death situation, left both sides speechless. Even Sale had the surprised Pikachu expression. His eyes were glued to the man in front of him in disbelief. He thought that the sudden emergence of this heroic figure, who even put all the enemies on their knees, was a godsend opportunity for him to leave this place alive. But his presumed savior was actually there to rob him. Before Sale could even speak another word, the leader of the attacking side let out another burst of his aura and broke the pressure around him. But in the end, all he could do was stand up properly. In no position to fight against this new enemy because his body still felt a huge pressure around it and his movements felt restricted. His expression turned serious and then fearful of Khan. "How is this possible? Did the news of our ambush get leaked?" asked the Wolfkin leader. "What do you mean, boss?" asked one of the soldiers behind the leader, who was still kneeling on the ground. "That guy is a semi-saint rank swordsman," replied the Red Wolfkin. "Hey you!" Suddenly Khan called out to the leader. "I'm giving all of you a choice. Leave all your weapons and belongings here and I'll let you walk alive," he declared. "This bastard!" shouted the leader and took out a yellow crystalline magic artifact and crushed it under his palm. Suddenly, a shockwave was released from the shattered artifact and the aura of war dominance waned by half. The 200 soldiers who were kneeling finally felt their bodies being able to stand up on their feet and quickly got in their attacking stances. Just with the aura alone. They knew that this young man was a formidable enemy and should not be looked down upon. "Who the hell are you?" asked the Red Wolfkin as he and all the soldiers got in their formation and circled Khan Vasale. Khan resisted the urge to say, "I'm Batman," and replied with an aloof expression. "Just a passerby," spoke Khan. "Bullshit. Which clan do you belong to? Or are you one of his bodyguards?" asked the leader. "Huh? Are you brain dead? Do I look like these guys? Given the color of our clothes, I should be counted as one of you guys," said Khan in a sarcastic tone. "Now then, do you comply or should I start using my sword?" asked Khan as he turned around and swung Lucifer in a horizontal slash. "Arr!" A sudden wail resounded and a head dropped on the ground. A headless body of an assassin followed behind it, and a bloodied sword blade flickered again and stabbed an invisible figure on Khan's left side. "You?" spoke the invisible assassin and dropped on the ground as his chest was pierced through by this semi-saint rank swordsman. "Shall I take it as a no?" asked Khan to the leader as he gave a light smirk. It had been too many days since he had a proper fight, and these 200 people were going to his new test subjects. And also, he needed a practice session of his new Sword King skill and other SVSS rank sword skills that he gained. Compared to when Khan fought against Arkham Vassalman, he was already twice stronger and all his offensive skills now had double the force behind them and his effective range had improved to 250 meters for all his long-range attacks such as Aura Blades or Dark Blade. But since he couldn't use his dark magic skills, he would have to depend on the normal attack. But this was enough for him to deal with these many people. "There are people waiting for me, so let's finish this quickly," spoke Khan. His battle intent arose along with his chaotic aura and one by one. Dozens of aura swords similar to Lucifer in size and shape appeared above him. The entire battlefield of 1.5 kilometers felt a sudden rise in temperature and one by one. The number of these swords kept increasing. Gasp! Gasp! Multiple gasps were heard from all the attackers and even the leader looked at Khan in disbelief. His bewildered expression even piqued Khan's curiosity as he hadn't expected such a reaction. "Impossible. That's Saint Rank swordsman's skill," he shouted, and even the 200 fighters from the enemy side felt a shiver in their spine. At this moment, Khan spoke again in a bored expression. Oye, attack me already. I said I don't have time, and I'm missing out on my afternoon nap. Well, only 50 swords aren't even for so many people. How about you guys lend me your swords? He spoke. Clatter, clatter, clatter. The sound of multiple swords such as normal swords, sabers, greatswords and giant swords clattering as if they were responding with some sort of force filled the battleground, and soon, all the sword users felt the grip on their weapons. All of them then flew in the air regardless of the struggle by their masters and were suspended in the air, their blade pointing towards their masters the next second. This was the first time Khan used the Sword Battlemaster skill. His other SS rank skill along with the Sword King skill that he gained after the skills from Volstov clan head and Arkham. What the? Run! Shouted the leader and ordered all his people to retreat. Nobody wanted to stay here and see if this man was strong enough to take out their group of 200. Even the mages had goosebumps on their bodies seeing the control over the mana and aura of this semi-saint rank fighter. He had already exceeded all of them together. Even though they had an advantage over numbers, their best magicians were only beginner-level grandmasters. In front of the swordsman, none of it mattered. Khan quickly took out the epic rank domain artifact and activated it by pouring half of his mana into it. Suddenly the entire battlefield was covered inside a black barrier and everything around them turned pitch black. Every single one of the enemies was now captured inside this isolated battlefield. Why are you running? Why are you running? Spoke Khan and launched more than hundreds of swords at the enemies. Half were his own while the rest were the ones he rented from the enemies. Stab. Poochie. Pierce. RHHH. You bastard. Run. One by one, the entire battlefield inside this domain was covered by his swords that spread around a kilometer and started killing the soldiers in black. Forget defending, most of them couldn't see where the sword was coming from. Every single one of them changed their direction from time to time and were strong enough to pierce through their shields and barriers. And to make matters worse, all of them possessed different elements such as fire, water, wind, and lightning. Khan's figure flickered and the next second, he appeared right in the middle of their mages who stood in a formation. He had used Shadow Strike to directly teleport behind one of the mages. Before they could even cast a barrier around themselves or their allies, Khan used the War Dominance aura again. His swift slashes and swings with water aura blade skill cut through armors and bodies of their mage squad. These blades cut through everything that came in a 100-meter radius. He was currently using Arkham's sword skill and used them to break the enemy's line of protection. Since he couldn't use the dark magic and darkness element skills in front of the young vampire, he only showed his swordsmanship skills. In just 20 seconds, Khan killed the mage squad and then moved to the leader next who was fighting and defending against his aura swords. The Red Wolfkin saw Khan coming towards him and howled in anger. "Fight me by yourself if you dare!" He raged, but the next second, Khan's eyes flickered yellow and the wolf leader of this enemy side was paralyzed on the spot. "Shut up, you no-name character. I'm not gonna waste 10 paragraphs fighting you," said Khan and disappeared from the fear-stricken leader's sight. The wolfkin suddenly felt the world around him go upside down. No, it was actually his head that went upside down. Besides, the leader could even register where Khan went. His head was detached from his body and fell on the ground. And just like that, Khan killed a peak Grandmaster rank warrior in just 5 seconds. This fighter was comparable to Arkham, someone who previously put him at death's door. But now, he could take an opponent this strong with his skills and abilities. And that too without using Hero of Darkness title or Berserk God mode. At this moment, even Khan was surprised how easy it was for him to take out this opponent by only using 2 of his skills together. One by one, all these people from the black-dressed army started falling on the ground. Khan was no longer someone who had to break a sweat while fighting these many people together. He was already comparable to a small army of a few hundred fighters himself. In just 10 minutes, all the aura swords finished the 200 enemies easily. Even the assassins who used invisibility skills weren't an exception because Khan's Hunter Intent Va survival instinct had already reached a different level. The Hunter Intent itself became an S-rank skill after his recent breakthrough. Screams filled with pain and helpless cries for mercy filled inside the domain, and all the enemies were massacred in a helpless struggle against this powerhouse. Khan walked towards the only surviving member inside the domain and spoke to the silver-haired vampire boy who was shuddering in fear. He stood in front of Sale and asked, "Now give me a good reason why I shouldn't kill you?" Sale was rooted on the spot. The terrifying aura around him had disappeared, but the gory scene that was in front of his eyes horrified him so much that he even forgot to breathe. To Sale, who was taught how to fight by one of the best fighters in his clan of hundreds of thousands of people, this sight was no different than a newborn baby opening its eyes for the first time. It was one thing when you fought someone who had no intentions of harming you to begin with, but completely different when facing someone who could kill 200 people without even breaking a sweat. And how would you feel if that being directed their bloodlust towards you? Sale felt a premonition of certain death. "Do I need to repeat myself?" asked the semi-saint rank swordsman. No. Wait, don't kill me. If you kill me, my clan will hunt you down," spoke Sale, again resorting to his clan's name. "Did you hit your brain or something? Who would even know if I killed you right here?" retorted Khan and put the sharp edge of his great sword on the vampire's shoulder. "Wait, you will get a huge reward if you escort me to our territory. You'll even get a rank amongst our faction," proposed the young vampire with his jittery mouth, finally feeling like he could reel in the powerhouse in front of him. "Not very bright, are you?" asked Khan in a sarcastic tone. "What do you mean?" he asked. "If they knew you were passing from here, va plan to ambush you, means they know where you'll be heading next in case you manage to survive. It'll either be the territory you speak of or back to your clan. And they will be waiting since these guys won't be reporting about your death anyway," elaborated Khan. You're right. Please help me. I promise my clan will fairly compensate you, sir," spoke Sale as soon as he realized that the black-clothed swordsman was indeed correct. The target on his back hadn't disappeared. "And get mixed into your faction wars? No thank you. I can kill 500, but what happens when they send 5,000? spoke Khan as he clenched his grip on the sword. "Wait, please, take my space ring and spare me. I won't tell anyone about what happened. This is what you wanted in the first place, yes?" spoke Sale and made a pleading gesture. No one would expect a son of some heir of one of the strongest forces in the Empire pleading in front of an unknown warrior. "Fine. I'll spare your life for the ring. Besides, I get to keep the rings for everyone else anyway. Go away, kid. I better not see you here after I turn around," replied Khan and received the space ring. He didn't bother checking the contents and started looting the space rings of all the dead bodies one by one. As soon the domain artifact activation period ended, Sale ran in the opposite direction like a rabbit running away from a tiger. But as soon as he ran a few hundred meters, Sale stopped in his footsteps. Khan, who was busy robbing the dead, which was his true profession, smirked as soon as he heard the vampire heir's footsteps faltering. Sale suddenly turned around as soon as he sensed few growls and whimpers coming from the dense treelines, belonging to ferocious beasts who already surrounded them after smelling the blood from the battlefield. And he then returned to Khan. "Excuse me, oh honorable sir." "Nope." Before he could say anything else, Khan refused. "Oh magnanimous lord. Not a chance. Please heed to my pleads. Forget it. The mighty sword. Go away." Anyone would be left surprised if they saw that of Sale standing was pleading and begging in front of a corpse looter. Khan had already pulled in all of his aura, so the monsters didn't sense how powerful he was. Vampires themselves had a sharp hearing va eyesight. So when he felt all these prying gazes of the ferocious beasts lurking in the shadows, surrounding them from different sides, he had no choice but to return back to Khan. He quickly ran close and grabbed Khan's feet, totally contradicting his image. Khan could already feel that Sale was actually a big coward who only put up the pretense of strength and valor. "Big brother." "No. Uncle." "Not convinced. From now on, you're my father." "No, you're my grandfather." Khan jerked his leg and kicked Sale away. "Stop spouting nonsense. I'm not even a vampire," spoke Khan with an annoyed expression. Great ancestor, please save me. He knelt on the ground and bowed his head in front of Khan. Hey, do I look that old to you? Raged Khan released half of his aura to scare off the monsters. This act even fortified Sale's resolve to grab Khan's coattails and survive. 10 million gold dramas, he exclaimed. Khan's ears perked and he looked at the pleading boy. How do I know that you'll keep your word, va not kill me instead later? I know how you rich brats from noble clans behave. Spoke Khan. I swear on my life the heir of Vanderijk clan. If I go back on my words, I'll turn into an eunuch. Spoke Sale haphazardly. Fine, but I don't want to get mixed into your wars later. I drop you to your place va, then I get my reward. That's it. Spoke Khan. Finally, I got him. Spoke Sale to himself. Khan threw back Sale's ring and carried on gathering the space rings from all the dead. He didn't care if they belonged to the young man's faction either. He raked in 13 new space rings, only worn by top warriors. Let's leave. There's a caravan on the other side of the valley. It's enough to go undiscovered to the capital. That's where I'm going. Spoke Khan. That's where my clan's headquarters are also situated. Our destinations are the same. Spoke Sale with joy. He finally felt the fear in him gone. But what about them? We should give them a proper burial, or these monsters will eat them. He said, Kid, I'm not your errand boy, and we're running out of time. Do you want to stay here burying your dead till the night falls? Asked Khan as he rolled his eyes. I understand. Spoke Sale and followed behind Khan. Little did the vampire clan heir know that it was actually Khan who had him under control. Instead of appearing as a savior, Khan appeared as a robber to not raise suspicion from either side. And then he threatened the vampire kid so he won't treat Khan as his servant after Khan agreed to help him. As for why he planned it all, this entire plan hatched in Khan's mind as soon as he saw the sigil on the banners of the vampire boys' side. Khan had read enough books about the history of the Rocco's empire, and many of them included enough information about the government structure itself. The sigil on the banners indicated one of the most influential departments of the government that ran this empire, the Department of Finance. As soon as they crossed the valley and Sale's back was turned against the battlefield, Khan quietly gave a command only audible to him. This command was a word that he hadn't used in a while. Khan smirked as he looked at the bloodied battlefield and spoke. Awaken.